No, this is Torah study, but this is our special Torah study in Erev Shabbat. Yes, there you go. You can be excited for that. Yeah, that's. Pardon us. It's hot in here. I'm having a hot flash, and we had plenty of chocolate. So if this is your first time joining us for Torah study, this is a service. However funny it may be, we just have a good time because we got to eat first. So we're really excited and happy that you're here. And just to give you, if it's your first time visiting us, just so you know, we normally do this on Tuesdays for the exception of feast, which is why we're doing it today on Friday. But normally it's on Tuesday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. But once again, because we just finished up Sukkot and Shemini Atzeret, we are having it tonight along with our Erev Shabbat. So we had Erev Shabbat at 6:30. And now we're going to have our Torah study, which is awesome because everybody's already here. Yeah. They're really excited. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to we're first going to start with prayer and praise. So if you have any prayers or praises, you can start typing them in. If you're here locally, you can line up. We have our Shamish team on the live stream desk, Shamish Rob and Shamish Gary, and probably Shamish Kurt as well. So we want to ask that you would give them your utmost respect as the leadership that it's in the room. Please be respectful. This is, again, a service. No matter how funny we may be at the moment, this is our service. And we really want you to be looking at, as we read through the Torah portion, what you can get out of it to apply to your life now. We're always looking at how can we apply this right now today in our walk. And it's perfect because it's Erev Shabbat. So we have a lot to help us to get refocused or realigned as we are in Shabbat. So it's already Shabbat. And so we're going to start here with the prayer and praises. Then we're going to read through the Torah portion, which tonight we have 11 readings. We're starting in Genesis 1, which is Bereishit, which means in the beginning. So we have 11 readings. We'll read through those. Then Mr. Grayson Gardner will come up and give us the announcements. After the announcements, Rabbi will then come out and conduct the Q&A or the Midrash, give you guys an opportunity to ask questions or get some more clarity on the Torah portion. So we're going to start here locally with our prayer and praise with Miss Kathy.
Shalom. Shalom.
Somebody did that. Shalom.
Shalom, Elder Billy.
Shalom.
Thank you so much. Yes. But he was talking about muting mics, so. Okay. I have a gigantic praise report for Miss Angela, who had surgery on Thursday, and glory to Yahweh. She came through the surgery. Last thing I heard, she was still in the hospital. So I'm just asking all the mishpachah to lift her up. The Father will continue to do what he does to help her body to restore so that she can go home.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Could certainly pray for that. All right. Miss Mercy.
Hello. I am asking for prayer as my current gig is ending on November 4th. You guys hate when I say gig. So when my current show is ending, so I am, just looking for the next show. And I just ask that if you guys can just pray for me for that next one to come up quickly. Oh, you didn't let me finish.
Oh, sorry. I'm agreeing as we go along. See, you were done anyways. There you go. All right. Taylor.
Hi. I wanted to give a big thanks to everybody who prayed for me. Had a huge scare when I went on a walk, and I felt like I couldn't breathe for like all of ever and felt like I was going to die for real. That was like a super hard challenge that I've never I think out of every challenge that I've ever had in my life, to keep emunah, because I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I was just like, this sucks. So also, I realized that I've been getting sick a lot because of anxiety that I've been having, and I haven't been dealing with it as well as I can. And I think there's other things in my life that God's trying to get me to notice by sickness, but it's just really tiring to be sick all the time. But I still, have emunah about it, and I'm like, I know there's answers to everything, and so I just pray, just prayers that I can find those answers and not be super just anxious about it. So.
Amen. Amen. Well, I'm glad and happy. We're definitely going to keep you in prayer. But just know, Taylor, I was sharing with somebody that called before I came here to Erev Shabbat that had dealing with some crisis. Just know, as I shared with them, that you have help within the Mishpachah. If you haven't heard Miss Janet, as you told your testimony, she's a licensed clinical therapist, and she helps a lot of people. And we always are very thankful to share and to know that we have her as somebody that can help you. So make sure you connect with her, and maybe she can offer you some help. No, I'm kidding. Grayson is her husband, so I'm teasing him because he's up next. All right, Grayson.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So praise that my wife is feeling better and that Yahweh either has provided or will provide everything that she needs to handle everything that she's going through. And then I also have a praise for something that happened over Sukkot. And it was that I got locked out of my house and my car at the same time. And
that's why she got anxiety. 'Cause you didn't. I knew it. I knew I was going to find an answer.
And so, and I it's a praise for me because I legitimately was able to keep my shalom, keep my emunah, and just be like, okay, that's fine, it happens, and I was able to be happy and keep my joy.
Amen.
And I wasn't letting the circumstance that typically would have caused me to become very angered and very frustrated, and I didn't do that.
Amen.
And so and that's just definitely something that I wouldn't have handled it as well as I did 4 years ago. There's just no shot, no chance. And thankfully, I was able to call my friend Ben, and I ruined his lunch, but that's what friends are for. And he came, picked me up, got to the realtors, came back, and then I was only a couple minutes late to be where I needed to be, and just everything worked out super well. And I was the fact that I could be in that situation and be happy just simply because I was happy of being locked out of my house and my car, it was I just praise Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Let that be an encouragement to all of you, but especially to his wife. While he was talking, I know the situation because he was supposed to be with us with the Gadol class during the feast, and he texted me, so I was aware of what was going on. And I said then, and I say it now, things will work out. Things will work out. If you listen to Rabbi, he always talks about anxiety is because of things in the future. Depression is about things in the past. So if you just keep your emunah, as you said, which is correct, if you keep that focus and that trust in Yah, knowing things will work out for the good of them. Who is the good of them? The good that's within you, walking out Torah and walking out his commands. And because he will not withhold any good thing from you. So if you ask, he said, you shall receive all those awesome blessings that he tells us in his word, just reaffirming to you, or should reaffirm you as you read through, that things will work out. So you have the family, you have the help. All you have to do is just reach out as you did. And I'm sure we'll be here to hold you up, to lift you up, to support you, love on you, squeeze you till you pop, you and your awesome husband, and things will work out. So just be encouraged. Amen? Amen. Amen. All right, Sarah Beth.
Thank you for not using my whole name.
I didn't even know it till today, but anyway, go ahead. That's a story in itself. Okay.
I wanted to give praise during the feast with the dancing. It triggered a old foot injury, and the chiropractor was able to solve it. And
Amen.
So now I know going forward what to do if it happens again.
Amen. Amen. That's awesome. All right, Michael.
Guess what? Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Woo!
So we're going to read the Parsha tonight during Shabbat, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
I'm super looking forward to that. But the praise that I gave on Shemini Atzeret was about like how I've grown during the feast, and well, at least some knowledge that I've gained, and I was able to put that to use today at work. We had a project. We shut down the whole factory, or Volkswagen shut down the whole factory, and then we were supposed to count some containers and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of them, but anyway, so I was expecting to be on the floor counting, and when they called for all the leads and the materials team members, I didn't hear them say leads. I only heard materials team members. So I went over there, and they're like, "Okay, so all you guys are leaders." I'm like, "Well, I'm not a leader," and the engineer was like, "Okay, you can go then." And not my boss's boss grabbed me and was like, "No, you're staying here." And I later found out that he wanted to put me in that position to where I would be in charge of a team doing some counting, and I did great. I mean, I haven't heard the praise yet because he was really busy today, but our team did awesome. We didn't miss a beat.
And you didn't lose your job. You were wondering about that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't lose my job, and despite the fact
God.
that I never heard about whether or not I had that time off, I guess it was good to go.
Amen.
So, hallelujah.
Amen. That is awesome. That is awesome. I just want to, while Janet is coming up, I just want to lift up my beautiful wife. I tell you guys heard me say it many, many times, that I learned many years ago that I believe it was inspired by Yah, definitely, that my wife is my first ministry. So it's my relationship with the Father, then it's my relationship for myself, my relationship with him. So it's him, then me, and then is my beautiful wife. And so she's going through some challenges by some nonsense that was spoken, some Lashon Hara about leadership, and I was named in the nonsense. And so it's the first time since we've been, and this has happened before, so I'm not concerned about people saying what people say. But I know it's not true, and Abba will take care of it because vengeance belongs to him, so I'm not worried. But she did voice some concern about her peace being disturbed, and I can understand that. So just some prayers, encouragement, and some praise that Abba will work it out. He'll take care of all of those things for us, but I just want to let you know, baby, that I heard you and praying for you. Y'all don't, if y'all only knew the weight that our wives, the Rebbitzins, my wife, have to carry to help us do what Abba's called us to do, there is a weight there. And that's outside of the regular marriage weight. It's additional weight, outside of the family weight and the children weight. There is a weight that we carry, and we could not do it without my wife and Rebbitzin Julie and Rebbitzin Joanne, because we can go a little crazy sometimes. But praise Yah for our spouses. Amen. Yeah, you can give them a hand. They deserve it. I know for a fact that my wife and both Rebbitzins don't like being in front of the camera or in front of the mic, and so they like to do what they do behind the mic and behind the camera, and really appreciate them and all the support that they give us, because we couldn't do it without them. So I just wanted to acknowledge them and say that we're praying for them. You're welcome, Rebbitzin.
All right. Just real quick, because I was listening in the office there. Anybody who wants this job needs to know that anything and everything will be said about you. And so if you're wanting to be not that you necessarily want, but I'm saying, but if you happen to be the helpmeet of someone in this position, it's not easy to watch people say some of the nastiest things that they can say about your spouse. And it's been consistent all the way through. Elder has been in ministry before. He knows what it's like, and he's seen it happen. And so just so you know, this is not a big deal, but it's a big deal. Because to the wives, it does hurt. Nobody likes to have anybody say nasty things about your spouse. And some of the stuff that's going on right now is pretty much about as nasty as it gets. Okay? And so just realize that, and the leadership can be under attack. And so I want to put it out here. I'm going to put it out here now. Okay, so I'm going to name names because you need to know. Okay? Ruth Ann Soros, also known as Regina Hoffman, is out there spreading Lashon Hara in very strong and nasty ways about me and our elder. Okay? And so just, if you're still friends with her, I don't know why. Okay? But that's your choice. But understand that this ministry is being spoken in some really bizarre ways, okay? And stuff that is not even ridiculously even close to being true, but of course, you know, that's the kind of stuff. And it's stuff that if your spouse is being accused of any of these things or connected in any way, you would be ready to smack somebody, okay? Because you wouldn't want to have that happen. So just want to let you know that that's happening. I don't normally like to name names, but this is someone who's out there aggressively, and so this is what we have to do. All right, back to you.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi. Give him a hand. Rabbi. It's funny. I talked to somebody this week, and they wanted to know, could they call Rabbi Steve Rabbi Steve? I said, well, is he your rabbi? She said, yes. I said, okay, then you can call him Rabbi Steve. She said, what would I call him if he wasn't? I said, Mr. Berkson. Anyway. All right, Miss Janet.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so nice. It's so good to be here on Shabbat night and to read
Yes.
the Torah. Everything's
It's
good
awesome.
and everybody's here, so it's really cool. So I have a couple of praises. One is my aunt that I requested prayer for. She's actually doing well. She's 90, almost 90, and she's great. And they did all the testing, and everything is fine, and she's really good. She's doing well, so that's awesome. Praise to Yah. And then I have also a praise. People ask me, how are you doing? And we're doing so well. You know, my husband, my other half is very far, and we get to see him. Planning on going the first week in November back to Texas, and then he's planning to come for Thanksgiving week. But things are working out really well. And I do think that is because of rabbis and your advice and leadership and guidance and following through that. And that's why we're seeing the fruit and the peace and everything going. Yeah, awesome.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's a big praise.
Amen. Praise Yah.
Yeah, that's a huge praise.
Yeah.
And then I do have a prayer. Pam Shuford in California, her husband is going through cancer, and he's going through treatment right now. And they're just in my heart. So I just want to pray, lift them up in prayer.
Amen.
Yes.
We can certainly do
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. I was going to hold the mic, but I saw the line growing, so I figured I'd put the stand back on. John.
Elder, I have a couple of praises this week and a prayer request.
Amen.
Tuesday, I went to see my fiance. She pulled me aside, and she told me she's going to try to make herself the best wife that she can make herself.
Amen. Amen.
And Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, we had a meeting at work, and all of us have a pay raise coming up for the 1st of January.
Amen.
And the prayer is hoping Mama will feel better tomorrow.
So focused. I was ready to say I was going to say and just sit down. Now you threw me off. Anyway, sorry. I wanted to give praise to Abba. I had some medical stuff going on since like last December, and we thought it was a bunch of stuff, and I tried a bunch of stuff, and it didn't work. And yesterday I said, I don't think I've actually sat down and just said, Abba, please show me what this is. You know, I was just like, I'll figure it out. I'm a nurse. I can do it. And yesterday I said, I'm giving this to you. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry I haven't come to you first.
Amen.
And I finally did. And it wasn't some long, prayer. It was just, I need your help.
Amen.
So I get to work this morning, and the doctor that I work with, he only comes in 1 day a week. And I just said, hey, this has been going on. And I just mentioned it to him, right? Out of nowhere. When I tell you, he said so much. He said, no, this is it. This is it. And it just all just clicked. It was kind of like when I listened to Rabbi for the first time. And my eyes were just like, oh, my goodness. And you just, And my husband approved, and we're going to see him. So he'll be our family doctor.
Amen.
So big praise for that. And then just
Amen.
prayers that the healing comes
Amen.
with it. So thank you.
Amen. Amen. That's awesome. Awesome. Miss Shira.
Hello, Elder Billy.
Hello.
I know this is not time for questions and comments, but...
Wait, Rabbi? No. Call in reinforcements.
First of all, I just do want to share my older brother does have inoperable liver cancer. He was visiting up north in New England with the rest of my family, and they said he's in a better place than they had the best connection with him ever that they've ever had. And so this is a man who's had vast emotional problems throughout his life, and he is at peace, Jerry Falwell and all. Thank you, Father.
Amen.
The other thing I just want to share is, Elder Billy, and I told you this privately, but I am so thankful for your message last Shabbat.
Amen.
I am
Thank you.
so thankful because it was just the cherry on the cupcake, or whatever you want to say, of just things Father's been doing in me. And this feast, I came through the end of this feast in just a whole new place of excitement about really preparing, living this, every moment. And he's been showing me all kinds of neat things that I can do to just overcome all the old distractions and everything, and I feel more dangerous than ever.
Amen.
Thank you, Abba. And I just want to read this verse for you, for Chantel, for Rabbi Steve, Rebetson, Julie. The words of Yeshua: "Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. Amen. Rejoice and be glad, for in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Your reward in heaven is great."
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you know, I was sharing with a few people the freedom that comes with being prepared. When you're actually prepared and you got things lined up, you know what's going to happen. When you protected against Murphy and mayhem, the peace that you have within yourself and the energy to work on another area, because we always got something to work on. You get one thing done, you got something else to work on. Get that done, you got something else to work on. But what I really appreciate your praise. I've gotten many. I was just sharing with Rabbi and my wife tonight, who got so many emails and phone calls, even text messages, and I got a bunch of people reached out on Messenger because somehow they found me to really appreciate that message. And it means a lot to me. I don't think I didn't expect, I just was obedient. Like I said, I was working on something else me and Rabbi were talking about prior to, and then I got up to work on it to do some finishing touches, and he just turned it around. And I think it had a lot to do with what we were dealing with, a lot of us during the feast, and the fact that if we were better prepared, even those that were prepared, if we were even more prepared, we could have saved that energy and reserved that energy for another thing. Does that make sense? So I'm glad it was such a blessing to all of you. And awesome. Praise y'all for that. So hopefully we can all take it away. I know a lot of people. I got phone calls on the way here, as I mentioned, about people trying to get ready, and people letting me know, hey, I'm trying to get ready. And they didn't need to give me the reasons why they weren't where they needed to be. But for whatever reason, they felt inspired to let me know how their Shabbat prep was going, and I thought that was really encouraging. And then I found out when I got here how to mute some of those notifications, because my phone was ping, 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 ping. It was singing a song. But I'm glad that you guys were blessed, and I pray, even for me. I mean, when we create a message or write a message, Abba inspires us. Do you know it's first to us? And then, we share it with you guys, but I know it was for me. There's a lot of ways that I knew I could be better prepared and with my time. And I don't think I waste a lot of time. I'm sure I do. But I know that we could all find ways and workarounds to get things done. Stop procrastinating, stop putting it off, stop waiting until tomorrow. Do you know that scripture, I believe is in Proverbs, at least it should be. Don't put off for tomorrow what you can get done today. And those things I mean, they're proverbs, but these are things that we should take along with us each and every day. Thus, the same thing you should be taking away tonight with the Torah reading, what you can apply to your life tonight that will help you in your journey from where we are to getting to where he's calling us to be in the image of Yeshua our Messiah, who is perfect in all his ways. So we bless you, Abba, and we just praise you. And thank you, Miss Shira. That was really good. All right. Looks like you may be the last one. Let's see. Ashley? Somebody's going to stand up before you finish, I'm sure.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder.
Shabbat Shalom.
I wanted to give two praises. One for this week about the bridegroom, and when that woman, I think her name was Annabelle, said that she sleeps in her wedding dress. That hit, that stirs some stuff in my head.
You and me both.
And I was like, okay. And but seriously though, all this week I'm like, okay, I need to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm rabbi's schedule, and as you know, and I'm like, nope, I gotta wake up. I didn't make it to 5, but I woke up at 6, which is still huge. And even all up until today, I got so much done. I made 7 breakfasts, and I was able to freeze them. I made chili for tomorrow. I prepared another meal. I did 4 loads of laundry. I did 13 loads of laundry yesterday.
Ah, man, you got a lot of laundry.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say he's really inspired, that woman's really, in your speech as well, really inspired, not just for Yahweh coming, but winter's coming as well. And I don't mean snow, I mean the economic winter.
Amen.
And so that teaching was perfect timing, because it not only woke me up to go to Kingdom, but it woke up me to get my stuff done here appropriately, so I can tithe appropriately to get there.
Amen.
And speaking of tithing, I am obsessed with numbers. I've always have been. I've been doing my husband's paycheck and going, okay, he's worked this many hours, so we expect to get this kind of a paycheck, because I know he's missed about 10, 12, 14 days off. I don't remember the exact, but the 14 days off. And so I know the paycheck's going to be a little short this month. And I'm like, okay, I get to tithe this much, the first, second, and third tithe. I keep seeing the numbers go up and up and up. So every couple of days, I reevaluate it with the hours. And I'm like, oh boy, I might have to div in my savings, because this is going to be a short week. But it's okay, because we have a buffer. I get the utility bill in yesterday, and we didn't even start third tithing yet. We already getting blessings. My bill has been $400 a month because I like the air cold in my house, and I have to pay for that. This bill was only $232, and it's squeezed in right in the $0 budget.
Praise Yah. Amen. Amen. Ashley sent me a message, and she sent it to the wrong place, so I got it personally on Messenger. She sent me a picture of her thermostat and a little praise about her keeping her thermostat at a certain level. So she left it on. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it was 63. Did I say that? The house was at 63, which most people's at 68, they say. But anyway, she was excited because she's a polar bear on the inside. So she's excited about our accomplishments. So we're really proud of you guys, and I'm glad it helped. I knew another person was going to get up. Hey, Mr. Quigley.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm not much on this microphone, but I've been sitting back there, and the Lord told me that greater is the one in me that's one in the world. And I'm just going to praise Abba today.
Come on.
He's
Amen.
on the throne.
Amen.
He is the King of kings, and he has brought me out of a sickness.
Come on.
And I have been trying to stay here. And when I get here, I get the morning of the feast and then 10 days with COVID.
Wow.
But I'm just here to praise God and thank all you people for your prayers.
Amen.
And I love him today.
Amen.
I love you people too. Praise Abba.
Praise Yah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. All right, live stream.
Okay. Joseph Neal, prayers for all those who are sick at the MTOI Urbana.
Amen.
From Crystal says prayers for my son and his wife to heal their relationship. Oliver Hersey prays after 3 years since last we saw each other. Shannon and I will finally be together soon. I am so thankful for everything Yah has given me. Prayer for health-related issues and their resolution.
Amen.
Prayers
you can't have her. We already talked about waiting at the airport, so Looks like you're going to figure out how to get here. No, I'm kidding.
From Norma Florido says, prayer for forgiveness and healing. Allison says, prayers. I still have sinus drainage. Prayer to end soon. That's Allison W. That's South Carolina. John Wright, praise the eye, I'm better. I came back from the feast down with sickness and was out for a couple of days. Vaskin, praise, we have a fantastic Sukkot in Australia with some awesome fellowship and no sickness.
Amen.
Praise we all got home safely. Judy Mitchell, prayers for healing for sinus infection. Praises made it home safely from an unexpected necessary trip to California this past week. Did the third tithe for the first time in a while, and Yahweh blessed me with a side gig that paid me more than 10 times my normal tithe.
Praise Yah. Amen. Amen.
Shelley Bell, praises for this Torah study on Erev Shabbat and prayers for bad pain in my back and left leg, which can be the arthritis, but praise Yah for all of you. Angela M., praise Yah for Cliff and my 15th anniversary yesterday.
Amen. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. So thankful for the abundance of love and appreciation.
Amen.
Annabelle Gonzalez, Milana is asking for prayers for her teacher's mom. She has been diagnosed with cancer. Also, I would like prayers for my mother. We got some news today out about, I think it says, about she may only have till November to live. Pamela Shuford, praise Yahweh, Ken's treatment are coming along fine. Amen. Lisa Hersey, praise report, 28 years of marriage tomorrow.
Amen. Another
Mazel
one.
tov.
Wow.
Yes.
Mazel tov.
She said we could write a book.
I'm sure.
Kiara, prayers please, pretty sick with the flu. Aching head and neck and very nauseous. Delia Alonzo, praise and prayer. Thank you for the prayers. I've been asleep, nauseous, unable to eat for the past few days since I got home. Today I was finally able to get up and make some chicken soup.
Oh, man.
There's a chicken emoji on there. Praise Yahweh, please. Continue prayer for healing from COVID and pneumonia. Yahweh is good. This is the 6th time I've had pneumonia in my life. But praise Yahweh. Thank you to the leadership at MTOI. You're the real thing.
Amen.
Joe and Gabby. From Gabby, praise. I am no longer sick and I am well again. Prayer for travel mercies for my mom who is traveling to Ireland on Tuesday to be with my grandmother who is very ill and deteriorating quickly. Vaskin, praise. I went through my first tithe year, and due to COVID restrictions, I wasn't able to work throughout the whole time, but I'm still being paid on annual leave. Praise Yah for his provisions.
Amen.
Simon Gibbs, praise for privilege as we enter our third tithe year. Prayer as we enter the U.S. visa lottery for the 2nd time. Prayer for our family and the business.
Amen.
Ryan Schwint says, need prayer for health restoration. Praise Yah for healing, proclaiming Jeremiah 17. Thank you for the prayers. Been watching for months from Maricopa, Arizona.
Amen.
We have quite a few unspoken. Quite a few people just kind of going off of what Shira said, thanking you for the message during the feast, Elder.
Amen.
Some people that were here for the feast are just thanking us for the time they had. It was what a good time they had here at the feast.
Praise Yah.
And I think, yep, we are caught up on all the urgents.
Awesome. So we also want to lift up in prayer all those that have reached out to us since Tuesday. We had a triple Tuesday. We usually have a double Tuesday, but a double Monday, but we had a triple Tuesday because all the calls we didn't get Friday or Monday, we all got on Tuesday, plus Tuesday's calls. So It was fun. It actually was fun. Everybody was really considerate and very patient with us to get back in touch with them. We didn't have any emergencies that we missed, so praise Yah for that. Everybody did their thing, so praise Yah for a smooth transition from the feast back into our normal schedule. Shout out and an appreciation for all of those that came out to help us get this place back in shape. Shamish Waffle and his team, Rebinson Julie had a team, did an amazing job upstairs with some, I guess, late spring cleaning, I don't know, but it looked amazing. I went up and saw it, got some of them spider webs hanging everywhere. But anyway, they did an amazing job upstairs, outside, inside the building, everybody that participated with site cleanup. I saw Mr. Craig Lane out there. I mean, that man worked all day. I came in before 7, he was here. After 4, I was leaving. He was still here working. Oh, that man was working, and it was really good to see him and everybody else that was there. I'm just not used to seeing Mr. Craig Lane, so that's why I mentioned him by name. But I really appreciate all the help and all the input that everybody did for the feast as well as the cleanup. So shout out for all of you that were able to help us to do that. That being said, Shamish, Rob, if you already got your mic on, can you open us in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. All right, Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us together today. That we get to spend some time breaking bread with each other tonight for the Erev Shabbat, as well as getting the opportunity to get into your Word, Father. That we pray over all of these requests that came in tonight. That you know what they need, how they need it, when they need it. And you are the healer, Father. And just bless each and every one that's here and ones that can't be with us tonight, and all those that we got to meet family over the last week, and then they're back homes. That just let you know that we miss you. I can't wait to see you again. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. Yeah, that's good. So, if you're just joining us, this is our Torah study service. We normally do this Tuesday nights through when it's not during the feast. We usually do it Tuesdays nights, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But because of the feast, we're doing it tonight following our Erev Shabbat, which was a great meal and fellowship we had together here tonight. So we have 11 readings, and what we're going to do is go through the readings. We have 11 readings again, starting in the Genesis 1:1 with Bereishit in the beginning. We're going to read through it. Then afterwards, Grayson is going to come up and give us the announcements, and after that, Rabbi will come out and do the question and answer in the Midrash, and we should be good to go with that. So if you're just joining us in the room, please be advised, please be very respectful of our Shamish team that is in the room, monitoring the room. We appreciate you. We want you to stay, and what we want you to be looking at as we go through this reading is things that you can apply to your life tonight, right now, okay, immediately. So we should be looking for those things and bringing those things out. All right, so we're going to start here locally with our first reader. What's going to happen, she's going to come up, or they're going to come up. I'm going to read a blessing over them. They're going to read the portion, and then they're going to go and sit down. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure they will. All right, so first up we have Mercy. Don't forget Ben. I'm kidding. Inside joke. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Mercy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 1 through verse 15.
In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be," and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning one day. And Elohim said, "Let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And Elohim made the expanse, and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the expanse heavens. And there came to be an evening, and there came to be a morning, the second day. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collection of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is after itself on the earth. And it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the third day. And Elohim said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times and for days and years. Did you really cut off my mic? Okay. Boy, I tell you. 15, let me get centered again. Get back into reading. And let them be for the lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth. And it came to be so.
Amen. Amen. It was cookies. It's Rebbit's and Joanne's cookies. That's got us all a little. So just so you guys know, I know y'all thinking this is comedy hour, I know. But I was teasing before the live stream started, telling the sound people to mute Mercy's mic when she comes up because she was really loud and happy and laughing and giggling. So she thought somebody actually did that. So that's what she's talking about, which they probably did. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, back to the readings. So Shequez. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Shequez, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 16 to the end of the chapter.
And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters teem with shoals of living beings, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heavens. And Elohim created great sea creatures and every living being that moves, with which the waters teemed according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and increase, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fifth day. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living being according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures, and beasts of the earth according to its kind. And it came to be so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created him. Male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures on the earth. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the sixth day.
Amen. Thank you so much, Shaquez. Amen. Mr. Kip. Shalom, come a little closer. I won't bite you. Might squeeze you, but I won't bite you. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Mr. Kip, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 2, reading verses 1 through 14.
Thus the heavens and the earth were completed and on all their array. And in the seventh day Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. These are the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh Elohim made earth and heavens. Now no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahweh Elohim had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But a mist went up from the earth and watered the entire surface of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of life. And the man became a living being. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahweh Elohim made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 riverheads. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. Bdellium is there, and the Shoham stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding the entire land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. It is the one which goes toward the east of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates.
Amen. Thank you so much. Amen. All right, Jessica. Hey. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Jessica, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 16 to the end of the chapter.
And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it you shall certainly die. And Yahweh Elohim said, It is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him, as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name. So the man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the heavens, and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him, as his counterpart. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jessica. Next up, we have Sarah Beth. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Sarah Beth, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 3, reading verses 1 through 12.
And the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, Is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. For Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the sound of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam, and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate.
Amen, Sarah Beth. I was just thinking as we were reading, and I don't see Robinson. She left somewhere. Anyway, I just wanted to appreciate her and her team for the wonderful meal tonight that they prepared. It was awesome for our Erev Shabbat meal. I just thought about it, so I wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. All right, Eduardo, come on closer. What are y'all standing back there? He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Eduardo, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. You're going to take us from verse 13 through verse 24, the end of the chapter.
And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, the Nahash deceived me, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the Nahash, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock, and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go, and eat dust all the days of your life. And I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow, and your conception bring forth children in pain. And your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In your toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you return. And the man called his wife's name Hava, because she became the mother of all living. And Yahweh Elohim made coats of skin for the man and his wife, and dressed them. And Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put out his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Eduardo. Next up, we have Shannon. And I don't think I didn't look at the calendars. This shouldn't be the last time I get to say this blessing over you, so. No? Okay, good. Don't make me cry. I had half a tear saved from Sukkot. I didn't get it out yet. Okay. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Shannon, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 4, reading verses 1 through 12.
And Adam knew Hava his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain and said, I have gained a man, Yahweh. And again she gave birth to his brother Habel. And Habel became a keeper of sheep, but Cain became a tiller of the ground. And it came to be in the course of time that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yahweh. And Habel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahweh looked to Habel and his offering. But he did not look to Cain and his offering, but Cain was very wroth, and his face fell. And Yahweh said to Cain, Why is he wroth towards you, and why is your face fallen? Is it not good if you do good, you are to be accepted? And if you do not do good, towards the door is a sin. He is lying, and towards you is his desire, and you must rule over him. And Cain told Habel, his brother, and it came to be when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Habel, his brother, and killed him. And Yahweh said to Cain, Where is Habel, your brother? And he said, I do not know. Why am I my brother's guard? And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth.
Amen. Thank you, Shanna. Next up, we have Brandy. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Brandy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. You're going to take us from verse 13 to the end of the chapter.
And Cain said to Yahweh, My punishment is too great to bear. See, you have driven me from the face of the ground today, and I am hidden from your face. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and it shall be that anyone who finds me kills me. And Yahweh said to him, Well, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance is taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set up a sign for Cain, lest anyone finding him strikes him. So Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Hanok. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Hanok. And to Hanok was born Irad, and Irad brought forth Mehujael, and Mehujael brought forth Methusael, and Methusael brought forth Lamech. And Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents with livestock. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre and flute. As for Zillah, she also bore Tubal-Cain, a smith of all kinds of tools in bronze and iron, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my words. For I have killed a man for wounding me, even a young man for hurting me. For Cain is avenged sevenfold, and Lamech 77-fold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Sheth. For Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Hebel, because Cain had killed him. And to Sheth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then it was begun to call on the name of Yahweh.
Amen. Thank you, Brandy. Next up, we have Andrew. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Andrew, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. You're going to take us into chapter 5, reading verses 1 through 17.
This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, he made him in the likeness of Elohim. Man, male and female, he created them, and he blessed them and called their name Adam in the day they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and brought forth a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Sheth. And after he brought forth Sheth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Sheth lived 105 years and brought forth Enosh. And after he brought forth Enosh, Sheth lived 807 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Sheth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years and brought forth Canaan. And after he brought forth Canaan, Enosh lived 815 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years and brought forth Mahalalel, and he brought forth Mahalalel. Canaan, after he brought forth Mahalalel, Canaan lived 840 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years and brought forth Yered. And after he brought forth Yered, Mahalalel lived 830 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died.
Amen. Thank you, Andrew. Now we have Miss Janet. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Miss Janet. Let's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 18 to the end of the chapter.
And Yered lived 162 years and brought forth Hanok. And after he brought forth Hanok, Yered lived 800 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Yered were 962 years, and he died. And Hanok lived 65 years and brought forth Methuselah. And after he brought forth Methuselah, Hanok walked with Elohim 300 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Hanok were 365 years. And Hanok walked with Elohim. Then he was no more, for Elohim took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years and brought forth Lamech. And after he brought forth Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years and brought forth a son, and called his name Noah, saying, This one thus comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh has cursed. And after he brought forth Noah, Lamech lived 595 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old. And Noah brought forth Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Janet. And last up, we have Mr. Grayson Gardner. You're the only whole name I said tonight, so I'm sorry. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Grayson, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, so you're going to finish us off reading chapter 6, verses 1 through 8.
And it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good. And they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever. In his going astray, he is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. And those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. And Yahweh saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahweh said, I am going to wipe off man whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature, and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Come on, give a hand to all of our readers. That was awesome. All right, and now for the blessing after the Torah reading. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. All right, Grayson is going to come up and take us through the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to start by welcoming our guests. As children of Avraham, we'd like to exemplify the trait of hospitality. And for our guests, while we will be doing our best to treat you as guests, we would appreciate it if you could behave as guests. So even if there's something we're doing that you disagree with or you think we're wrong, we would appreciate it if you could conduct yourself in a Yeshua-like manner. And for our guests, everything that we offer as a ministry is 100% free and there to be a blessing to those who will find it. With that being said, we do 2 live streams every week. The first being our Shabbat service, which happens every Saturday at 1:15 at the sounding of the shofar, and typically lasts for around 4 hours, lasting until around 5:30. So if you're planning on coming and visiting, you might want to bring a snack or at least eat a fairly large breakfast beforehand. The second live stream that we do is our Torah study, which typically takes place every Tuesday night at 6:30. But for this week, we are doing it on this Erev Shabbat, and it's such a blessing. But typically, it is every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., and the service starts with the word being read and is then followed by a midrash portion with our rabbi, where he'll come out, go over the notes that he has for the portion, and then if there are any questions that aren't covered, he'll go over and explain anything that people want to know about. And so while our rabbi is making sure that we're understanding the Torah portion at our level, we do have our MTOI Parsha Pearls program to make sure that our children are understanding the word at their level. You can find this at ymtoi.org. And this is a program that is made completely by us and is led by our very own Rebbetzin Julie. And so this is a robust program that is broken up into 2 different age groups. We have our Gem Seekers, or Katan Aleph, which is ages 5 through 8, as well as our Pearl Seekers, or Kedan Bet, which would be ages 9 through 99 plus. And we put 99 plus because we believe that regardless of how many years you've been in Torah, that in this program there's something that you'll be able to glean from it because of the immense amount of value that is there. And so each lesson includes child-friendly stories and lessons, lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, songs, and a snack. And these are all related to that week's Torah portion. And so these are posted on Sunday. And so you'll have it available to use throughout your week, as well as on Shabbat. If you need something to take up your child's time, as it is a 35-page program, I assure you that it will take up a good amount of your child's time. If you are somebody who enjoys listening to the word read, we do have audio scripture readings available on our website. And this is done by our very own Shira Wendling. Shira's done an amazing job going from Genesis to Revelation in her own narrative style. And for the first 5 books, she even broke it up by Torah portion. So if you wanted to listen to the Torah portion that we went over tonight ahead of time, you could go to our website, MTOI.org, and it would be under media, under audio scripture readings. We do upload on YouTube every day of the week, well, every weekday, so Monday through Friday, starting with our first look that is on Monday. And so our first look is sort of our movie preview, and this is powerful sound bites that are taken from the teaching to really get you into the right mindset to receive the full teaching that will be posted later in the week. On Tuesday, we have our MTOI shorts, And these are 10 one-minute videos that are taken from teachings. And these are just powerful sound bites that really stand alone on their own. So if you find yourself with just a couple minutes, you could look one up. And I'm sure there's an immense amount of value that you could glean in a very short amount of time. So I would highly recommend using that as a resource if you think it could be useful. On Wednesday, we do have our full teachings that are posted. And we are currently in the Be Set Apart series. And following each teaching, we do have our afterburn, which is posted on Thursday. So the afterburn is about an hour-long question and answer time that we have after each teaching to make sure that we have understood the message that our rabbi has been trying to convey to us. And so this is a question and answer, and so he'll further expand and explain things that people are confused about. And it ends up being almost its own mini teaching on its own. And so every Thursday afterburn would be connected to that Wednesday full teaching. On Friday, we do have our In Focuses, which are posted. And these are short 6 to 8 to 10 minute long videos where our rabbi really covers a subject within a full teaching in that short amount of time, and it really stands alone on its own. So we pull it out and we make it a video of its own. And if you're interested in getting the full context of what this video that you're watching is being pulled from, there'll be a link on the side, and so that way you can click on the full teaching if you are interested. And so we do have a new Instagram account, and this is MTOI underscore worldwide. And we also have our Facebook and Twitter, which are MTOI worldwide. And make sure that while you are adding these, that you turn the notifications on. First time with the new water bottle, and I wasn't prepared, clearly. That's my bad. Okay, so Facebook membership requests. So we do have our Facebook page, and if you are interested in joining, there are 3 questions that you have to answer. And the answers don't really matter too much except for the last question, which is the most important, and that is, did you read and agree to the rules for the page? And so if you try to join the group and you do not answer the questions, you will be denied entry. So, people are still not doing that? That is tragic. So answer the last one, people. So Brianna's new songs are on Apple Music and Spotify. So if you are interested in listening to some of her praise music, they're available there. And then we also have a program for our teens, which is Torah Teens on Zoom. And this class is led by our very own Rabbi Tom Mitchell. This is a Zoom class, and so if you're interested, you can go to torahtime@mtoi.org to get the link, and this is every Thursday at 1 p.m. Rabbi Tom has created an amazing space where the teens not only feel comfortable to get to know each other, but as well as work on having that proper relationship with a member of the vertical structure, and they're going through the Torah as well as other books at their level, and they're allowed to ask questions, and they're able to get nice rapport with Rabbi Tom. And so if you are interested, it is torahtime@mtoi.org. And this is a program that is for teenagers. So if you are below 13, you should not be in the room. And if you are above 19, you should not be in the room. If you're a parent and you're concerned about what your child might be learning, that's fine. Feel free to sit in the room, but make sure that you are off camera, as Zoom is a video chat format. And so we want this to be a space for the teenagers, and so that they can feel safe and they can just be themselves. And if there's another adult in the room, they're going to be more likely to edit, and they're just going to be more conscious of what other people are going to be thinking of them. And so make sure that you are off camera. And once you are satisfied and you've spent a few minutes and you're making sure that what your child is learning is okay, feel free to step out of the room so you can allow your own child to have that opportunity to be themselves without you being in the room. As an international ministry, and in an effort to serve people around the world, regardless of where they are. While it's Shabbat where they are, our rabbi has broken the world up into different zones, with each zone having a 2-hour-long question and answer time with our rabbi, while it's Shabbat where they are. So the next one we have coming up will be November 5th, and this will be our Zone 1 Shabbat Q&A. And so for this Zone 1, this is for people who are able to attend here locally. So whether you live in Tennessee or you live close by, if you're able to attend and come here regularly, you would be a part of this Zone 1, and this is your time to come and ask questions. And this is during our regular service time, and you can find this on YouTube. The next one we have coming up after this is Zone 2, and this will be on November 12th. And this one takes place on Zoom. So if you're interested in attending, email zoom@mtoi.org, and it is the same link every time. So once you get it once, you do not need it again. And so Zone 2 is for United Kingdom, Europe, and Africa. And these are for the people who are in those time zones for them to ask their questions. So even if you're not from Zone 2, you are still more than welcome to attend the Zone 2 meeting, because even though those are the ones who are going to be able to ask the questions, everybody is welcome to come and attend to listen to the answers. And so this Zone 2 will be November 12th at 10 a.m. EST, and Zone 2 is typically every second Shabbat of every month. Next one after this will be on November 18th, and this will be our Zoom Zone 1, and this is for the people in United States, Canada, Mexico, South America, and Central America. And so this will be that third Friday. And so the next one is November 18th, and this is at 8 p.m. EST. Following this meeting, we'll be having our Zone 3 Shabbat Q&A, which is for Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Philippines, and Malaysia. And so this will be at 10 p.m. EST, following the Zoom Zone 1. And both of these are every third Friday of every month. If you're somebody who's not comfortable asking a question in either a zone meeting or calling the offices, we do have a Contact Us page available on our website, mtoi.org/contact-us, as well as our questions at mtoi.org. On October 25th, we'll be having our Torah study, as well as our Rosh Hodesh for the month of Heshvan. And so during this Torah study, during the time of where we'll be pausing to do the announcements, I believe we'll be doing the Rosh Hodesh service during that time. So it'll be a 2-for-1 special. How exciting is that? On November 4th, we'll be having our Erev Shabbat meal. And this is for a time for if you attend here locally, we come together and we have a meal like we did tonight. And it's an amazing time to come together as family and just spend some time with Mishpacha. And so this will be at 7 p.m. on November 4th. If you're not able to come and attend locally here with us, we do have the Erev Shabbat handout that is available on our website. On November 5th, we'll be having our post-feast department head meeting. And so if you are one of those department heads, come prepared. And if you are somebody who served on one of their teams, make sure that if you have any feedback that you think would be valuable, that you get that information to your department head so that way it can be shared during this meeting so we continue to improve and do better each and every year. On November 6th, that Sunday, daylight saving time ends, and so we'll be needing to make sure that at 2 a.m. that we turn our clocks back. And then lastly, on November 13th, we will be having our leadership meeting. And so everybody who will be in attendance in this meeting knows who they are, but everybody should be keeping this as a date that they should be marking on their calendar, as we should be praying for our leaders. These are men that are taking time out of their day, up to 4 or 5 hours, to meet and work together with the sole intention of working together so that they can serve the body and the Father as effectively as possible. And so we need to be praying for our leaders. And I believe that is all for the announcements. Please help me in welcoming up Rabbi Steve.
Got to get this all worked out here. All right, thank you, Grayson, and all of you that did your readings today, and Elder Billy for leading whatever he did. Yeah, whatever, I don't know. Okay, so that being said, and he left his papers up here, which is okay, because they're my papers anyway. Okay, now, a couple of things real quickly that I wanted to bring out, and then we'll get into all of this. I have a question. I'm not making a change yet, but I have a thought, a question that I wanted to ask. How many of you would feel, well, how do I want to word this? How many of you would like it if we did our Torah studies on Friday nights? Meal included, meaning you have to bring your own meal. It's like we'd eat together. Okay? All right, because we did it tonight and got a tremendous turnout. Okay, so I think that we would have our meal. Okay, so we'll be seeing how we'll integrate into that. Hopefully maybe sometime into November we'll go ahead and announce something like that. We're still going to be doing the one next week with our Rosh Kodesh service and those kind of things. Okay, that's not changing. I just got to figure out, we have some Zoom meeting challenges, because if I do it on Friday, the second Zoom is not really the problem. The first one at 8 o'clock would be on that Friday when I do the Zoom Zone 1. Got to just figure out how we do those things. Okay, so not a problem. I know that some of you will not be happy if I just push it back from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, which doesn't bother me at all. Elder's not going to be happy. He says, we're awake anyway. All right, well, I am. I don't see it. You're always trying to shut them down earlier than that. And you use me as the excuse. Okay. All right, so that's good. So everybody seemed pretty excited about that. So we're going to probably make that change. I'll announce it as soon as we get there. That'll be good. All right. Now, Grayson yelled out, I like to go other places on Tuesday. So I'm glad you're switching it over. No. Now, what he yelled out was extra teachings on Tuesdays. Okay, so when I first talked to my wife about this, she said, oh, that'd be great. Free us up, and then we can just move this over to Friday. I said, yeah, then I could do something else on Tuesday. She glared at me like, really? She's like, really? I'm like, you know me. I'm just going to fill it with another class. So some of the stuff that I've been wanting to do now might be doable on Tuesdays, okay? So. All right, because why would I take a break? Okay, so. All right. Oh, so for those of you that were aware, and we had made an announcement about going on another cruise and letting you guys know if you wanted to go, we're not doing this as an official, like, group, you know, where we all sign up as a group and we blocked out a bunch of cabins on the boat or anything like that. But I did tell you I would tell you when I'm going if you wanted to go. And so you can make a note of this. So my wife and I are going on November the 28th. That's a Monday. Comes back on Friday, December 2nd, I think, whatever that Friday is. All right? And it's on the Independence of the Seas. It's Royal Caribbean, and it leaves out of Port Canaveral. Okay? And if you need more information about that, it's Shabbat. I'm not going to give you a whole lot more than that. Okay? The boat goes from Port Canaveral to Nassau and back with a day out at the ocean as well, and it stops at their own private island as well. So anyway, it's 4 days. Friday, you get back at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and everybody's off the boat by 9, so Friday really doesn't count. Okay, you're back and off the boat pretty quick. All right, so if you want to go, you can book that yourself. You're welcome to come. I will already be on the boat. There'll be over 3,500 people there. Good luck finding me. I know, some of you already know where to look. By the ice cream machine and the buffet. I get it. So you already know how to find me. Okay, good. So you'll be able to do that. There's a Country Inn and Suites that's like a half a mile away that we usually stay at, and that you can, that has parking if you want to park there for the whole week while you're on the boat. It's a pretty good deal. And so if you got there on Sunday. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. If we get enough people doing these things, we may actually book this as an event. But, that gets more complicated, coordinating an event, making sure everybody paid and gets that all done and how that's all going to get done. So for right now, since I told you I would tell you, mission accomplished. I'll let you know. Okay, good. What was that? Shavuot on a boat? That's an old cheer we used to have. Shavuot on a boat, Shavuot. Okay, never mind, that's enough. We do have fun here. Okay, we do have fun. All right. Especially because half my job is to make sure I'm making Elder laugh, so I do that all the time anyway. But I always try to do it when he's not expecting it. That's kind of the trick to it. So I lull him for like 2 hours into thinking, oh, everything's cool, and all of a sudden, bam, and he's like, look at me like. All right. We are at the beginning. Literally, like the very beginning, right? Bereishit 1, Genesis 1. Okay, so I'm going to cover a few things. I'm going to leave plenty of time for the Nephilim and the sons of Elohim and the daughters of men. And no, we're not doing that, okay? So we're not going to get into that part. But let's get into what we are going to get into. So I'm going to cover my stuff here, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. So if you have comments or questions, please keep them ready. If you're on the live stream is shut down for right now, but just have your questions ready, and they'll open it up for you as soon as I finish, because we want you to be listening and not typing for right now, okay? All right, so verse 1. Some of you thinking, if he's going to start at verse 1, well, it's going to be a long time. Okay, verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Okay, so verse 1 is sort of I'm giving you my thoughts at the moment. There's lots of different versions of what people think these verses all mean, whether there was this not mentioned gap of time between verse 1 and verse 2, or is verse 2 happening after the fall of the book of Enoch's angels and all this other stuff? What is going on? Well, how about let's keep this simple. So in verse 1, it says, in the beginning, Elohim created all the materials for the universe. In verse 2, they were formless and void. Okay? Just like a big giant lump of clay, it was formless and void. Okay? The earth, when it came to be in a formless void sort of, that's what it was like. It was just whatever that looked like, okay, at the time. And darkness was on the face of the deep, and so there was darkness. So there was nothing. There's just these materials and darkness. And then the Spirit of Elohim hovered over this, and Elohim said, let there be light. And so light came to be. And this is when Yeshua, the Torah, all of that stuff gets brought into this formless void. Okay? And by the way, when we read Scripture, you're always to read it from more than one level. One level is to read it as simply historic fact, this is what happened. But yet at the same time, it's also trying to teach you something as far as a metaphor or pointing at or hinting at other things, right? And so in the beginning, you were a big lump of clay, right? He's the potter, and you were pretty much void and formless. And darkness hovered over you. Doesn't Paul tell us that in Ephesians? And you were once darkness and now light, right? Okay, so he says the darkness, and then he said, over that, the Spirit of Elohim hovered over you and punched a little hole in that darkness and said, let there be light. Okay, so kind of follow that through here, right? Okay? And so Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. So that's the light, darkness, and light teaching, where there needs to be a separation between light and darkness. Darkness being light is the Torah, the truth, Yeshua. Darkness is the opposite, something void of all of that. And so in the beginning, he created and allowed there to be both of these things in existence. But he separated them. And he ended up allowing them to be two different playgrounds you could play in. Okay, ultimately. All right, you could play in the darkness playground or in the light playground. All right? So he separated the light from the darkness, and Elohim called the light day and the darkness night, and there came to be evening and there came to be morning the first day. Okay, so you have here our very first, and we have kind of this idea in Hebraic understanding of the law of first mention. So this is the first mention of a day. And that day is described as an evening, then a morning. So let's not get into that the day starts in the morning and then ends at the evening and whatever other arguments that are in there. Okay, he says this one complete unit was evening, Because what did he start with? Darkness. And what happens in the morning? Light comes into it. So everything starts in darkness. When you're born, you're coming out of darkness into light. And these are known as the births of the creation, the birthing of the universe. Okay? So it comes out of darkness into light. So you have your definition of a day. Okay? Then in the rest of the verses, he's creating different things. So we understand, for example, okay, so the day 1, okay, he creates day and night, let there be light. Day 2, he separates the sky from the waters. He makes a separation of the expanses, the heavens, which is really, he's talking about the sky. So there's a separation of space. So when he says heavens, he's not talking about like the place he lives. He's talking about the birds fly in the heavens, the Shemayim, okay? So separation that's being done there. Then he separates waters and dry land, grass. He creates plants, he creates trees, he creates on day 3. Then day 4, he puts the lights in the sky, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day 5, he starts creating the creatures. So he's got the sea creatures and the flying creatures, the birds and the sea animals, etc. Day 6, he creates the land animals and man. And then on day 7, he establishes Shabbat. Okay, you can say he created it because it's part of the creation week. He set something about the time he did something to it, in my opinion. Okay? So that's our framework. I'm going to hit on a couple of things that happened during those 7 days. So in verse 30 of chapter 1, he mentions the birds and the creeping creatures, and he says in verse 30, wait, I'm on the wrong page here. All right, so in verse 30 he says, and to every beast of the earth and to every bird of the heavens and to every creeping creature on the earth in which there is life. That phrase in which there is life comes from is the word nephesh. Okay? So when people talk about, well, you know, we have a special thing as a human being, we have a soul. Well, the word that's almost always translated by most groups as soul comes from the word nephesh. It's the word nephesh. Okay? So for people to think they have an immortal soul, this word, well, then so do the bugs and all the other creeping creatures because he made them. Basically, the word nephesh just means something that has life. It's a living thing. Okay? Birds, bugs, fish, doesn't matter, people, animals, anything that lives, okay, is a nephesh. It's a living creature. Now, as far as the thing that makes us different, now we're talking about when he breathed life into us. He didn't say he did that with anybody else. And it's from that breathing into us, he gave us something connected to him. And that's the part that's going to be put in the immortal body. The part of us that has been growing, that's connected to him, that's been growing into becoming like him. In the Hebrew, we would look at that and call that the neshama. Okay, the neshama. All right, now, so just be careful with that, because it does say in one of the prophets, it says the nephesh that sins shall die, okay? So much for the immortal soul. Okay, if we're going to use that word, all right? But just wanted to point out here in verse 30 that it said birds, creeping creatures, bugs, everything, they're all living things, and the Hebrew word there is nephesh. Verse 31, Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. Now, along the way, he said things were good. I mean, he made things and looked at it and said it was good, and looked at some more things and said it was good. And so here it says, and Elohim saw that all that he had made, and see, it was very good. Because at that point, everything that he made was doing what he designed it to do. Okay, that's where we get the it was good. He did the things that he did, and he said he looked at it. It's doing exactly what I want it to. It's good. He looked at more things that he made, and then he said, and it was good. And then when he was finished, he looked at it and he said, Tov me'od. It was very good. Very good. He was very pleased and satisfied with what he had done. It was all exactly what he wanted. Okay? It says, then we get into chapter 2, and it says here, thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their array, and on the seventh day Elohim completed his work, the work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work which he had made. Okay, so he completed, this is important, he worked for 6 days. And he completed what he needed to in those 6 days. Could be a little picture for us, maybe, that we should be working 6 days and getting our work done. Yahweh didn't invent weekends. Show me anywhere there's a weekend in the scripture. Man invented a weekend. Yahweh gave us Shabbat. Okay? Not weekends, one day. He says, you guys, I put you here to get a bunch of stuff done. You can't be taking a whole lot of time off to not get that done. You got to get that done every day. I'll give you one day to get restored and refreshed and rejuvenated, re-energized, and then boom, go out and hit it some more. Go out and get it done, right? All right, now, there was sort of a clap. People like, I don't know. I know you guys are full. You ate all of Rebbe's and Joanne's cookies, and oh yeah, you're all just... Okay, you're getting that sugar crash right now. Now listen, wait, it continues. Verse 3. It says that Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. So it's telling you that the work that we're really talking about is the creative work. The creative work of producing something. Okay, he produced and made all the stuff that exists. So he said he rested from all of that. But he did something to that time. He blessed it. He didn't bless day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He said day 7 he blessed. And he set it apart. What is, you should know after we've been doing all these parts on set apart. What does it mean to be set apart? It's something that is there for the sole, specific, discernible purpose of serving Yahweh. So that seventh day has a purpose, a defined purpose. Well, yes, it's a day to rest. Sort of. It's a day to rest from doing what you were doing, what you do every other day of the week, the 6 days. But it's a day focused on his things. And by the way, I don't know about you, but this used to be my saying when I was younger. People would ask me about, well, what do you do on vacation? I play hard just like I work hard. That's what I used to say. But I get re-energized just because I'm doing something different. So it doesn't mean that Shabbat cannot be filled with Yahweh-focused things, like when we come to Shabbat and we sing and we dance and we listen and we study and we do all this other stuff. It's not just about laying around and resting. It's resting from the world and its stresses and its worries and its issues and its drama and its trauma and all the other things. All right? Because some people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to Shabbat at home. You can't Shabbat at home. Now, I'm not talking about you guys who have no other choice. But if you have a choice of someplace to go, you're supposed to go. Leviticus 23 says it's a Mikra Kodesh, which is a commanded assembly. We're told in the Brit not to forsake the assembling together. What do you think he's talking about? Holy days and Shabbat. Okay? So we need to be able to do that. Somebody mute Mercy's mic, please. Okay, so. Sorry. You guys online, never mind, you won't be able to get the joke. All right, so. She sneezed and I heard it. Okay. She tried real hard to cover it, though. It was like a dad-level sneeze, you know what I'm saying? She knocked over 2 people in front of her on the rows there. Just knocked them right over. See, this is why we should do this on Friday nights. Because the later it gets, this doesn't get any better, I promise you. It just gets worse, okay? The wise guy sarcasm just like increases as it gets later at night. Okay. Anyway, so continuing here. So this whole thing is really important when people are first coming to Sabbath keeping to understand. Look, he did something to the time. So when you want to know if something's appropriate or not to do on Shabbat, you have to ask the question in the context of, does it respect and is it appropriate because of the time being set apart? Is it appropriate to the use that he intended for the time? Because the time is what's the issue. Well, I don't know, Rabbi, is it okay to do this or this or this on Shabbat? It's not about is it okay to do something. Is that the appropriate use of the time? That's the question, which is why my answer almost always is if it's not something that has to be done on Shabbat, you shouldn't be doing it. You should put it off until when it's not Shabbat. Okay? I mean, obviously there's a lot more detail than that. And that's why we have a teaching that you can listen to on, on the Shabbat, okay? And so I think it's just called Shabbat. All right? So it's a couple of parts. Just go listen to that. But let's understand that he rested not because he was tired. He finished what he was doing, which means that, and I know Elder did a teaching about preparing for Shabbat. Well, guess what? That means that you should be prepared to be finished by sundown on Friday. Be finished with what you're doing. Plan, and whatever's not finished, it is finished until Monday or till Sunday, or at least till Saturday night after sundown. But you need to, in your mind, think of it as finished. It's nothing to think about. But there's no but it's, okay? Don't worry about all that. It's something that you simply have to let go until Shabbat is over. Shabbat is this special, protected, blessed period of time. And we have to treat it that way. And that's why it's a part of creation week. Look at how profound there was nothing and he brought something. There was darkness and he brought light. There were no lights anywhere in the skies, no other things, and he put the stars and the sun and the moon, etc. There was no creatures or anything, or no grass or anything, and he created all these things. Very profound. And by the way, are there still lights in the sky? Okay, are there still animals on the earth? Fish in the sea, birds in the sky, creeping bugs, grass, trees, and all the other stuff? Shabbat's the same, it's still there. So I don't know how the Sunday-keeping world misses that. I mean, this is not something that anything else in the first 6 days changed. So why are we changing the seventh one? Okay, that's important to understand. I don't think I've ever said it that way before, but I'm just saying I think that it needs to be said. That look at the pattern that is set up here. Everything that he did on the first 6 days has gone forward unaltered since he did it. I know man has not done the best job keeping it up like he was supposed to, but it's still all there. Plants, trees, grass, animals, birds, fish, everything, all still there. Sun, moon, stars, they're all still there. All right. So let's be careful with the Sabbath day. All right, so then we have verse 15. So he took the man and he put him in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so he took the man and he put him in a special piece of land. Isn't that really what we see starting with Abraham going forward, which we're going to get to in a couple of weeks, that it becomes all about a piece of land that people are supposed to end up on? So he placed this man in this garden and he gave him a job to do. His first job was to work. Men, there weren't any women yet, okay? He said, men, you need to work. I'm going to put you in the garden, and you're going to work. Oh, okay. And you're going to guard it. Guard it from what? From future creatures on two legs messing with it. You got to guard it. I mean, Yahweh never intended to make only one man. Because the whole point of all of this was to have people eventually living with him forever. And so man was supposed to guard what? The whole creation week stuff. What Yahweh created, including the Sabbath. Guard, watch over it. He's going to give them instruction eventually to tend and to keep all those things after he kicks them out of the garden, but still the rest of the world. All right? So then in verse 16 and 17, we'll need this for when we get to the next chapter, but in verse 16 and 17, we see that there's instruction about the two trees. So this is actually what Yahweh said. Yahweh commanded the man, saying, eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in that day you eat of it, you shall certainly die. Okay? And so just note that for when we get to the little conversation with the Nachash, okay, with the serpent. And then we have Yahweh seeing that man is alone. Okay? Verse 18, and Elohim said, it is not good for man to be alone. I'm going to make a helper for him as a counterpart. It says as a counterpart, but really it's the word translates better as I'm going to make a suitable helper for him. See, counterpart, some of the ladies say, yeah, I'm supposed to counter you. No, I'm making you a suitable helper, but also as a counterpart or helper, suitable meaning one that matches up. Because remember, he brings all the animals first, and the animals all matched up and paired up and everything else. He said, but none of those would work for a human being. And so, rather than make a woman like he made the man, he took, because I think when he made man to be complete. Okay? But then he was alone, though, in his completeness. And so he took from him a piece. Ladies, a small piece. Not the bigger piece, not the dominant piece, not the controlling piece. Okay? A piece. And it was a rib. Okay, what do the ribs actually protect? The lungs and the heart. Oh, so you might want to be understanding, ladies, you're supposed to not take his breath away necessarily. I don't know how I wanted to say that. You're supposed to protect his heart, okay? But you'd like to protect him so that he stays breathing, okay? Not knock his wind out, okay? All right? And so, ladies, the rib, so the woman was made from the man's rib. So now, what a woman brings to a marriage, because what is a marriage? It says that they're going to be a man and a woman clinging back together, cleaving together. So it's taking what was taken out of the man, bringing it back. So the woman is bringing something that was taken out of the man back into the man and completing him. Okay? And completing him, not the other way around. So ladies, you need to hear this. Man was not put on this earth to help you. He was put here to provide for you, protect you, to care for you, but not help you. You were put here to help him. But helping him means that he gets to tell you what help he needs. All right? People come here all the time to this building and say they want to help. And you know what they ask? What can I do? They don't just walk around and just do stuff. They don't. But they come, and actually once or twice when that's happened, it's caused problems. We had to shut that down. But people generally come and they'll go and ask, who do I need to ask? I'd like to help. And then they ask, is there something I can do? Most of you ladies never ask your husbands that. Is there anything that you need? I was put here to help you. You were put here to keep me safe, protect me, etc. And so let's keep that in mind so we don't get this all confused. And of course, some of you ladies are going, yeah, but my husband doesn't do his part. Don't worry, I'll smack you guys, the husbands, around plenty. There's enough smacking to go around for everybody. But let's just understand, from the beginning, man was expected to work and guard. And then the feminine side, the compassion, the caring, the nurturing, all these things that some of you ladies go, yeah, my man has none of that stuff because he needed you to bring that back in, okay? Think of it, if you guys know the color code stuff, okay? Man was created with all the colors, and the good side of the blue was taken out of him, okay? Because he was supposed to be dominant red. I don't hold colors one above the other. I'm just telling you functionally, okay? Because anything that you don't have enough of, you will be handicapped because you need all four, okay? And people have made this comment, well, Yahweh has all four. Absolutely, he's got everything. And only the positive attributes, okay? But when you look at functionally, the man was supposed to primarily function red, the good red stuff, and the blue side was what was taken out of him, the intimacy, the loyalty, the compassion, the nurturing, okay? And that he seeks to bring that back in, to cleave to that, to be whole, okay? Rebbetzin and I have that, like, not that our marriage is perfect, but we have that perfectly matched up. I'm like all red, and I'm very much missing blue, and she brings in a ton of blue that when we function well, we function amazing. okay? Because we have that, okay? I just made half the ladies go, oh. Okay. Of course, when my negative red and her negative blue are going, it's like World War III. But that's, you know. But understand, ladies, okay? You were created to be a helper to him. Sometimes you guys walk around going, my husband never helps me with nothing. Well, he's not supposed to necessarily. He's supposed to take care of you and provide for you. He's supposed to be out there working. That's not to say that if you ask him, he shouldn't help you. He should. I mean, there are things that physically the man should be doing, especially if you are a woman who's maybe, you know, for whatever reason, can't physically do certain things. The man should be doing that, absolutely. But just understand, you should be seeking to take things off of his plate so he can do his two things, guard you and provide for you. Of course, men, you better not be sitting on the chair drinking a beer, watching TV, or playing video games. You need to be guarding and providing. Okay? And stop looking at her like, why aren't you doing something? Well, you're not doing anything either. That's not the way this was designed to be. You were given 6 days to work, men. Now, if you can get it all done in 5, good for you. Or less, good for you. Just realize that you were designed to guard all those days and to work. And most of you, let's be honest, you're not making enough money. You can't pay your bills right. You call here all the time because you're broke. So you got 6 days. You know, I watched a video. I thought it was a very good video. One of these guys out there that's just crushing it. I can't remember the guy's name. He's just crushing it out there, and he's a motivational teacher about how he's crushing it. And the way he said he got to crush it was he decided to work 3 days every day. He broke the day up into 3 6-hour days. So he does a job for 6 hours, then he does his second job for 6 hours, and he does his third job for 6 hours. And he gets in 18 hours, and he goes to sleep for 6 hours. And that's how he's crushing it. Imagine if you could turn it into 2 8s. That's the same 16 hours. I mean, it's 16 instead of 18 hours. You get 8 hours of sleep and stuff. But a lot of us are barely doing one job, or one work, one thing. You know, Elder mentioned this, you guys online didn't see because it was during our own egg, mentioned about how trying to get the counseling sessions to be organized so that I'm not working the long hours that I work and that he works with me. I don't ever see it that way. If I'm awake, I want to work. It's just, you know, but not everybody has that mindset. But if I'm awake, I'm working. You know, when I go to visit and speak anywhere and help, plant congregations, I tell them before we arrange for the whole details, I say, when I get there, I need to be used as much as possible until I get put back on the plane. Okay? I'm not just there to talk for an hour and then be given a meal and put in a restaurant and put in a hotel and put to sleep. No, you use me for every minute from the time I get off the plane until I get back on the plane so that I can be of value to the maximum. All right? Look, and this is not to brag at all, but you know, I think it's sad that at almost 60 years old, I could bury almost all of you in my work ethic. And a lot of you are much younger. Okay? You need to think about that Yahweh, this is back to creation. He made you to work in the creation. Okay, men, you were put here to work. It doesn't say ladies were put here to work. It says you were put here to help the man. But that help needs to be productive help, okay? So the man wasn't put here so that you could have a sugar daddy, so you could sit home and just do nothing, and then you don't have to work or do anything, and that he's just going to provide everything for you, and you do nothing, okay? Ladies, you need to do stuff, not to pay the bills necessarily, but you need to be productive doing something. In those days, while the men were out with the cattle, the sheep, and everything else, or doing the carpentry, whatever, the ladies were working the crops and doing the kids, and everybody was working. Nobody was kicking back and just having a good time and just, having coffee somewhere. All right? Could you imagine they didn't have coffee? How did they live? You know why they were in the desert 40 years? They were looking for a Starbucks, and they couldn't find one. Got to be one here somewhere. Sorry, just made that up. Okay, so this is the creation. Okay? Okay, we didn't show up here by accident through some evolutionary nonsense. You were created, and the one who created you had in mind what that would look like and how that would function. And it's right here at the beginning. Man is to guard and work. Woman is to help him. Now, different men need things different ways, but you need to find out if you're going to get married, what does your man need help with? Now, ladies, I know you all already know what he needs help with. No, you need to ask him what he thinks he needs help with. Oh, man, he needs a lot of help. I try to help him, but he doesn't, Okay? You need to let him tell you what he needs help with. Men, don't be shy to say to the wife, look to your wife and say, I could use your help in this area. This would be very helpful to me. Now, by the way, she's your helpmate. She's there as a value to you, a suitable companion. So don't boss her around. Don't dictate to her. She's not your employee. She's there to complete you, to make you feel whole. Okay, I don't know how else to describe it. Maybe this will make my wife's cheeks turn red or not. I don't know. She's leaving already. Okay. Shh. But when I told her the first time I held her, okay, I said, what spoke to me was home. Like this, I found completeness, like I feel home. Okay? So anybody that's, going in those directions, I didn't feel sexual anything. I felt completed and home, peace, like I'm home. All right? And that's what it's supposed to be, I believe. When you find that person, you should feel like you're restored to wholeness. Now, of course, if you don't pick your spouses with the right motivations, by the way, just because I felt that doesn't mean everything else went perfect in our marriage, okay? We're still married like anybody else. We have issues. But one of the reasons that helped me get through it all these years is that I didn't ever feel that with anybody else, and this was home, okay? And so that's a strong motivator anyway for me, okay? And she's smiling and laughing because she knows I've said that. There's no two ways about it, all right? Now it says it's not good for man to be alone. I've seen a lot of men who are alone. That's not good. That's not good at all. Okay? That is not good at all. Okay? So men, it's not good for you to be alone, which means that you have to become somebody that would be able to do the working and the providing that a helper would want to help. Okay? You can't just say, well, I need a wife just because it's not good to be alone. No. You need to be needing the completeness because you're doing everything else already, and that's the one missing piece. That's the missing element, okay? All right. And I wasn't planning to be all preachy. That's a lie, actually. I fully intended to do that. Okay, so I knew before I came up here that we were going to get a little preachy. All right. Then we get to verse, so that was chapter 20, verse 21 through 24, where he then makes the woman from the rib. And then in verse 25, they were both naked, the man and his wife. Now, of course, he made her to be a completion from, so he was referring to her as a wife. Because they were meant to be paired together. And since there was nobody else, of course, they were the two that were paired together. The man and his wife. So a wife, obviously, is the part of you that was taken out of you that's now restored. That's what we call a wife. So they were naked, but they were not ashamed. Okay, they were naked, but not ashamed. Now, later we're going to see in verse 11 of chapter 3, after their little interaction with the serpent, he says, who made you know that you were naked? So it wasn't like they didn't know they had no clothes on. Just they had no thought that anything was shameful or anything was out of sorts. They were just in their only understood existing state. And then what comes next changes their awareness, which then makes them aware of being exposed. Okay? So, like, if you were to walk around without clothes on, the first thought would be you're now exposed. Okay? And also you might be embarrassed and you don't want anybody to see. But I'm just saying, but the idea that I'm exposed, or if you have clothing that doesn't fit right and some things are showing a little more than you might want, that part of you is now exposed. It means it's uncovered. So these are metaphors for the actual state of being exposed or uncovered, which comes from them making a bad choice here at the beginning of chapter 3. Okay? So I want that metaphor to be there. Yes, literally, they didn't have clothes on. Even more literally, they may have been creatures of light without skin even. And then he clothed them, because after eating, it says, after you eat this, you will die. So they were creatures that were not going to die. Flesh dies. So I'm guessing they didn't have that in that form at that point. Because he says, in the day that you eat of this, that means death would be in your future. Not like that day you're going to just drop dead. Okay? Now, so in chapter 3, we run into the Nachash, the serpent. Now, the Nachash was not slithering around the branches of the tree. Picture this giant, anaconda from the South America or something. Okay, no. This was a being or creature that was walking and standing and talking, whatever it was, that was interacting with Chava. The punishment for the Nachash was that it was going to slither on the ground. And so that's how we picture that, right? But it doesn't start off that way. Because my friend used to say to me, my atheist friend, oh, so you believe in a talking snake? I said he was not a snake when he started talking. Okay? He was a nachash, whatever that means. It's a word we use for the serpent. And this is a very crafty beast, very cunning. And so he starts getting the first human beings to question things. So he asks them, is it true that Elohim said this, that, and okay, so he's going on and he's going to get them in trouble here. So let's understand what's going on here. This is their fall into shame. I know it's called the fall of man and the original sin and all this nonsense, and they want to say, so we're all doomed because of what they did. No, we were all going to make our own mistakes. Okay? We're not cursed in the way that the church would make you think because of what Adam did. We are suffering the curse that Adam suffered, that we were kicked out of the garden. And now we're trying to work our way back and working out our own salvation back into the garden. Okay? A place where work will be done. That's what it was always intended to be, right? But they fall into shame. And why do they fall into shame? What happens here? He says, is it true that Elohim said not to eat of every tree of the garden? The woman said to the serpent. So first of all, the serpent's talking and the woman is responding. Okay, because he said to the woman, and she's there. Now, we're going to see that she hands this fruit to her husband. It doesn't say she went running around looking for him. Okay? She took a bite, said, hey, that's pretty good. Here, Adam, you take a bite. He was right there. So ladies, problem one, I don't know if you want to blame him or her first. She had no business talking to this serpent. Her husband's right there. She said, listen, you need to talk to him. You don't need to talk to me. Okay? Number two, I'll blame him, either number one or two. He was right there. He should have stepped up and said, excuse me, I'm right here, talk to me. Because his job was to guard and protect. So he should have said, sweetheart, I got this, I'll talk to him. Okay? And so, this is the problem. So this is the beginning, ladies, men and ladies. Ladies and gentlemen. We come by the problem of the world of men and women for centuries after centuries and millennia from the beginning. A weak man and a strong woman stepped up and made a decision. We still see this today. A weak man, so the woman stepped up and made a decision. So they're both to blame for this. And obviously they were so willing to take the blame later in the chapter. Everybody pointing fingers at everybody else. So the woman said to the serpent, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. Of course, he didn't say exactly that. We read what he said, right? And so he says, the serpent said to the woman, you certainly shall not die. For Elohim knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her. And he ate. You know, in 1 John 2, let's just hold the place here. I'm just going to read you something in 1 John 2. You see this playing out. And John, I'm sure, knew everything about what happened in Genesis. So when he's writing this, so it'll make sense to everybody here. Okay, so in 1 John 2, it says in verse 15, do not love the world nor that which is in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So isn't that exactly what happened in the garden? Okay, she saw it, the lust of the eyes. It was desirable for her flesh, to make her strong, make her healthy, make her wise, make her know good and evil, and all these, the pride of life, to be like Elohim. These are all worldly things. See, Abba always allows, because he needs to see it play out, the battle between our choosing the world or choosing the above. And so he laid out the garden, had the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He laid out choices for them. Choose the above, don't choose the world. Because that battle has to be won. Okay, somebody will say, well, what about free will? This is your proof of free will. Because those with free will have to have a choice. And so you have a choice. You can choose the world, or you could choose the above. The heavenly. You could choose the fleshly, the earthly, and the below, or you could choose the above, the heavenly, and the spiritual. But the problem is the desire, which is a worldly connected part of you. I want, I like. That sounds great. I desire that. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. Those are all worldly attributes. Those are fleshly attributes. So you got to be aware that that's from the beginning. So mankind is not, it's no surprise we still have that problem. We started from the beginning with the first two. No surprise there at all. So continuing here, it says in verse 7, it says, then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the sound of Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. He says, who made you know that you were naked? So being naked was something someone had to make them know. It's like, really? They didn't notice they had no clothes on? Someone made them feel exposed. They did something and made a choice that exposed them. This had nothing to do with clothing. But they did something physically to make them feel covered because they were no longer covered. They had done something that exposed them. So they fall into shame. So what's the normal reaction for falling into shame? Covering themselves and hiding. So they hid themselves from Yahweh. Some of you got to be really careful you don't fall into the same trap. You do something. Instead of just repenting and owning it and fixing it, you feel shame, and so you hide from him. Or you try to cover it up, or cover yourself up, so that you think that nobody sees, nobody knows. Yahweh knew exactly what was going on, but he wanted to see their reaction. So he said, hey, Adam, what's going on? Where are you? Well, I heard your voice and I was afraid. You've never been afraid before. Why are you afraid now? Because I messed up. He should have come to him and said, Yahweh, I messed up. And I'm sorry. He doesn't own it. It gets worse. So he says, have you eaten of the tree which I commanded you not to eat? And the man said, well, the woman, the woman you gave me to be with me, she gave me of the tree. She thought she was being helpful. I'm kidding. She thought it worked. Like she took a bite, it didn't kill her, and it tasted good, so she gave it him. All right, so Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, interesting, he lets Adam get away with that. He says, okay, I'll leave that for right now. So he goes, okay, and talks to her. What is it you did? And the woman said, well, the serpent, he deceived me. So I ate of it. Nobody's owning anything. So Yahweh looked at the serpent. Doesn't ask the serpent any questions. He knows what's going on. He said, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the livestock and more than every beast of the field, and on your belly you are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed, and he shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. We're not going to get into that today. Okay, and then he starts giving out the punishments. So he works his way back to Adam. So he started with Adam, went to her, went to the serpent. Notice who he went to first. He went to the head. Adam, what'd you do? Oh, no, she did it. He didn't protect her. We see this so different in other people that get to play this role. You see this in Moshe. Moshe, those people, he goes, yep, that's me. Blame me. Don't blame them. I'll take the blame. Kill me. Don't kill them. Don't. Wow, such a different reaction from Moshe. And he says, then he gives out the curses. He says to the woman, this is going to be your deal, and then for the men, this is going to be your deal. Okay? And so that's really, and verse 16, I'm going to kind of word a little differently. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow, and your conception when you bring forth children will be in pain, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. So that sounds like you're going to want your husband and he's going to rule over you. Well, that doesn't sound so horrible necessarily. No, your desire is to be the husband. Your desire is to have his role, and you're going to be frustrated because he's going to rule over you. That's your curse, ladies. You're going to want to rule, and your husband's not going to let you. Or worse, you're going to get a husband that's going to let you, which actually is worse, believe me. Okay? And some of you ladies complain to me because you got a strong husband and you don't know what to do, or you had a weak husband and now all of a sudden decided to step up, and that's what you prayed about, and now you're mad because you don't like that he doesn't say yes to everything anymore. You don't get to do whatever you want. Oh, but he's overdoing it. Well, he's got to have the pendulum swing over here first till he finds his way back sort of where he needs to be. But I got a lot of ladies said, I've been praying for my husband. He won't ever step up. Oh, and then when he steps up, they're all mad. Every time. Okay? Every time. And some of you ladies, you'll look at somebody, like me or whatever, and say, I would never want to marry a guy like that because he's so this. And maybe that's what you need, though. Somebody's going to just be able to be strong and understand those things. Oh, but that's not the gentle, soft, whatever. Well, you know what? But the gentle, soft, whatever is in guarding and protecting you and working 6 days a week. Okay? It's a trade-off. There's a trade-off here. All right? Now, where am I up to? Okay, the blame game and the consequences. Okay, so let's go to chapter 4. We'll go to chapter 4 now. We got the story of Cain and Abel, right? Cain and Havel. Havel, it's not Havel, but it's Ahe. Cain and, it's really Cain. Cain and Havel. Okay, let's look only at one little piece of this. In verse 13 through 15, okay, and Cain said to Yahweh, my punishment is too great to bear, right? So when this is all over, he gets punished. And he starts whining. Oh, my punishment is too great to bear. See, you've driven me from the face of the ground today, and I'm hidden from your face, and I shall be a fugitive wanderer on the earth, and it shall be that anyone who finds me kills me. So Yahweh said to him, well, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance is taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set up a sign for Cain, lest anyone finding him killed him. So you may be thinking, why would Yahweh do that for him after all that? What key word was in that should help you with your clue? Vengeance. So no one is to take vengeance on Cain because vengeance is mine. So he wasn't blessing Cain. He was simply saying, no, you're going to suffer like I said, and nobody's going to take vengeance because vengeance is mine. And so I'm going to let you live and be tortured and miserable, but nobody's going to kill you. So don't think I'm protecting you because he said, vengeance is mine. Look at the verse. He says in verse 15, well, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance is taken on him. So you're going to kill Cain? No, you can't kill him. He gets to go and live and exist and do all those things because I have the vengeance. So he's going to live out his life until his old age, whatever, and I have the vengeance. Okay. Now that makes more sense. Because otherwise you're thinking, he did this awful stuff. He killed his brother, and Yahweh's now going to protect him? He wasn't protecting him. He was simply saying, I'm the only one that can kill you. Vengeance is mine. I'm punishing you? Fine. You're all worried that everybody's going to kill you? Don't worry about it. They're not going to kill you. That's my choice. I will make sure you'll live as long as I decide. Okay? Does that make more sense for anybody ever heard that verse? Because I know people struggle with that. Like, after all that, why would he then all of a sudden protect him? He wasn't. Okay? He wasn't protecting him. Verse 25, we get the birth of Seth. Okay, then we get to chapter 5. We're going to go through this real quickly. This is already after 10. I got like 3 more things to say. We got Hanok walked with Elohim, then was no more, for Elohim took him. So the answer to that question is, it's not real clear what that means or where he went. Quite frankly, I think he went to the Bahamas, but, but the thing is, some of the Jewish sages seem to think that he didn't die of normal age like everybody else up to this point mostly was doing. He was taken early because he was righteous, and that whole generation was just going way off the deep end and other things like that. So it doesn't really make it very clear what that all means, okay? So let's not get into a debate about that today. Then we get to chapter 6, when it's all gone into, you know what, in a handbasket, okay? By the way, I heard a little joke the other day. How do you make holy water? You boil the hell out of it? Okay, so anyway. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Oh, yikes. Okay. All right, chapter 6. We're not covering the Nephilim and all that other stuff. We're going to drop down to verse 5. Okay, Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. All right, so Yahweh's been paying attention from the very beginning, but he's seeing now that they are basically incorrigible at this point. There's nothing to work with. They're just completely into pain, suffering, all the things that we taught in the evil teaching, right? Destruction and all of that stuff. Okay. So what does he decide to do? Verse 6, it says that Yahweh was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So I don't like that word as a translation there. He was sorry. Yahweh doesn't make mistakes. He's like, oh, I'm really sorry I did that. What he was moved to pity that he had made man. So pity is the feeling of sorrow and compassion caused by the suffering and misfortunes of others. It's a cause for regret or disappointment. So he looked down at man, and he was so disappointed. Okay? He was watching them cause suffering and all the harm that was going on and all the misfortune that was going on, that he was grieved in his heart. And the only solution he could think of was to wipe them out and start again because of how bad it was. But yet we read this and people want to make us think that he was sorry. You know what? I'm just sorry I even made you guys. No, he's looking down and he had this compassion and this pity for, man, I don't know what else to do with you but wipe you out and start again. because you're just bent on self-destruction. See, some of you have family members like this, and it's really hard to put them out of the house, or really hard to put them out and just say, and you don't do it because you're sorry you made them. Like maybe it's one of your children and they're in their, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever they are. And you're not sorry you made them. You feel there's a pity for them just having nothing but being self-destructive, hurting themselves, hurting they may be married and have kids and hurting their own family members. And there's a regret that this is what's going on. And you're sorry that you have to watch this and see it go, and there's just nothing you can do because they won't listen. So if anything, that's what Yahweh's sorry about. He was sorry. It's like that they just would not listen. There's nothing he could do. He felt bad for this situation and said, look, the only thing I can do is wipe them out. It's the only way to stop the suffering. Okay? So he says in verse 7, he says, I'm going to wipe off man from whom I created off the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping creature, birds of the heavens. Now, it's not just the man. It's everybody. I'm just going to wipe them all out in one shot. We're just going to start it all over again here. I'm going to wipe the slate clean. Okay? He says, for I am sorry that I made them. In other words, I have pity. I have regret. I'm sorrowful. I'm filled with compassion. And there's nothing discipline is compassion. Discipline is love. He's disciplined them all along. All these terrible things that, they're supposed to have happening. And they don't care. Any of you have a child you've punished, smacked, done everything impossible that you could think of to do, and it does nothing? Okay? There are a lot of people like that. Doesn't matter what happens to them. They will not receive it as correction. It's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's to blame. And they just can't be moved. That's good. Thank you. They can't be moved to make a change. So Yahweh had been watching. He said he watched them and he saw that this was not fixable. Nobody was listening except one. And we read that in verse 8. Okay? He says, but Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. Noah found favor. Why did he find favor? We had a big debate with a guy who thought that I was using the wrong word for the Hebrew for grace, which is chen. And chen means favor. But he argued that it meant like handsome and charming and whatever. I said, so he picked Noah because he was good looking and charming? Well, actually, it doesn't say that very much. It says in verse 1 of chapter 7, it says, come into the ark, you and your household, because I've seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Oh, maybe that's what merited the favor. You think? Because he was a tzaddik. He was a righteous one. All right, and that's where we're going to conclude in today. So I hope that was helpful. And so we pick up next week in verse 9 with the Torah portion Noach. All right, any comments or questions? I know it's already late. It's after 10. But, hey, if you want to ask comments and questions, that's fine with me. Okay? And yes, Ashley, it went to chapter 6 and verse 8, like I told you. I know. All right, Shama Steve, start us off, and then you guys online, go ahead and type quick.
Okay.
Actually, wait, I see like Ashley and Janet, and you can take your time. It's going to be a while. No, I'm kidding.
This is something I got for me. Maybe somebody else will see the same thing. Because in Genesis 1:2, it says, to me it says, without Elohim, our lives live in darkness, and in darkness there is no good. So why is it we strive to keep 1 foot in the darkness and 1 foot in the light? Are we foolish enough to think that the Father can't see? We are trying to hide the darkness. We are trying to hide the darkness in our lives, the truth of our heart from Him. So that's just what I got.
All right, that was good. Appreciate that. Okay, Ashley.
How many questions are we allowed to ask?
1.
And then we can come back up at the end of the line?
Maybe.
Okay.
You are a local person. We could always talk about this tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day.
No counseling
tomorrow's
tomorrow.
Shabbat, but, we can talk about this whenever.
Okay. Then I'll just make two comments, or one comment, then I'll come back in line. My first one is in Bereishit chapter 1, the whole chapter. I was noticing that he makes/starts all the things and then just do. So start, that tells me to start something, even if it has bumps, and then fine-tune your walk later. It reminded me of your ready, fire, and aim that you did with the money teaching.
Well, good. Do
you understand what I was trying to say with that? Like the first day mimics the 1, 2, 3, fourth day, the second day mimics the fifth day, and the sixth day mimics the sixth day.
We'll say it one more time.
The first day mimics the fourth day.
Oh, mimics. I see what you're saying. Okay, I didn't understand what you said at first.
Sorry, I say that funny.
Look, he starts with just a big, undefined thing, and then he starts defining it more and more and more in the details. Okay, but the key is to start. Yes, he did start. Okay, Janet?
Yes. Someone just telling me, only one. I need to book something because I have like 10, but if you want. So the question is, what is the difference, Rabbi, between when it says chapter 2, that the man was created to work the garden and guard it, so there was a lot of work. But then when he was cursed after they ate from the tree of life, from the tree of knowledge, wisdom and knowledge, he was cursed because he had to, by the sweat of your face, you're to eat bread until you return. So it feels like it was also work. But what was the difference between the two?
All right, so if you've ever worked with really good fertile ground and you went to plow it, you could almost do it with your hand or with it, without any big deal, versus like the hard clay we have here in Tennessee. So it had to do with the idea that there's work and then there's hard work. I don't mean like working hard, but I mean like work that is hard, then it does, well, I should say harder than it needed to be, or harder than it was designed to be. Okay? So Yahweh said, yeah, you're here to guard and work, and I'm sure the ground, when he worked the ground in the garden, it was beautiful, it was simple, it worked, everything was great. Now all of a sudden he says you're gonna have thorns and thistles and all of this stuff and rocks, and the ground is not gonna dig up nice and easy, and it's not gonna plow easy or anything. Now it's gonna be laborious, hard work. Okay, so it's a struggle work versus just working. Okay? All right, Craig.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So we know with Noah and Shem and Avraham, do we know, or do they know when the hierarchy actually started? Like with shuls, and there's a lot within the lifetime of these men that we don't get a glimpse of. So there were shuls after the flood. There was a teaching. Is that started before? And
Okay, so, all right, so he's using the word shul, which would be the way the Jews would talk to a place that you go for worship, etc. There was, in some of the peripheral writings, is the idea that Shem ran a school, that Noah ran a school. Likely that Enoch was running the school before Noah did, okay? So yes, there would have been likely, from Adam going down, this passing down of information and the idea of discipleship. Okay? And so we get to see that when you look at Jacob and Esau, that Jacob, if you read the book of Yashar, not recommending it necessarily, but in that book you see that Jacob was being trained in Shem's school, which made Mama very happy. Mama liked the scholar more than she liked the hunter. Of course, Papa liked the hunter. Okay? And so I believe that without the wording of it anywhere here, it seems evident that there would have been those schools, and those schools would have been of a yeshiva/shul type of thing, because I think you see Melchizedek with that, which we believe was Shem when Abraham met him, would have been a priest of the Most High, but he was also the one who was passing down and discipling. Okay?
So there would have been a hierarchy then too. There would have been the structure that we see more laid out would have existed probably amongst these men's lives. We just don't get the stories of it, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think we get some hints because I think the Melchizedekian of the two different priesthoods goes all the way back to the beginning. That there would always be the one who serves before Yahweh would be the hierarchy in that vertical. I think, Craig, also that what you find is there's probably a reason that Abraham, for example, is looked at with such honor because he would have been a Melchizedekian priest, so to speak. So would have Isaac and then Jacob. And so the esteem and the people that followed them, because they had hundreds of people with them. It wasn't just, well, Abraham and his family of 12 went and traveled. I mean, there was all of these people that went with them because they recognized him in that vertical place. Okay? So absolutely that stuff would have been there. At least it's certainly hinted at very strongly. Okay? So anyway, I also don't believe that Yahweh does new things all of a sudden anywhere. What he does, he always does. Okay? And so therefore, if we see this push to understand vertical structure later on, it must have existed all the way from the beginning. All right. Shannon.
I just have a question. I'm just curious. When after Yahweh punished Cain, and he was to go and be a wanderer of the earth, and it mentioned like him being afraid that someone will find him and kill him, and then it mentions him with his wife, and I'm like, that part always confused me because I was curious, like, where did the other people come from, like, because we have Adam and Hava, the first two people ever, and then they have their sons, and then like where the other people come from, like how did he find his wife and so forth?
They came from Europe and further east. No. You would ask that question, wouldn't you? All right. Well, somebody had to, I suppose. Shh. Okay. So this is a really good question. So there's two reasonable answers, I suppose. Okay, one is, well, no. They're both problematic in certain ways, and they're not in other ways, okay? So the first obvious answer would be, well, if everybody came from these two, Adam and Chava, they lived hundreds of years, okay? I know a few of you that have like 6, 7 kids by the time you're 30. Imagine if you were turning 900. All right, how many kids you could have, especially if your fertility was not an issue. Okay? So that being said, the challenge with the first possible answer is there was lots of other children that were born, and eventually these people ended up with siblings of a sort. Okay? And then, of course, out of those siblings, it would have been cousins and other things, and then it would have been more distant a little bit as you would have worked that out. So when you say, well, where did these other people come from? Now, of course, when we deal with Cain, that was a little quick, but we don't know how quick that really was. I mean, because quick with them could have been 300 years, could have been 200 years. So we don't know how many years that would have been. That's answer number one. You're going to like answer number two even less. I'm just telling you in advance, I'm honest. All right, so we have to understand this book. This book is the story of a family and how that family interacted with and ultimately affects all. Can we agree on that part at least? We're told, for example, of Abraham, even though we're not up to him yet, that Abraham would be the father of many nations. The Goyim, the nations, the Gentiles. So when we start to see how that plays out, so this family was meant to be a blessing to everyone. That through this family, the whole world might be saved. The whole world might be blessed. Okay. Now, can we understand that this is not a history book, right? Because over the 4,000 years it covers, that's a pretty small book. Okay, it's just not very big. There's a lot of history in it, but it's not a history book. So it leaves a lot of stuff out that was going on in other parts of the world. So the second answer is Yahweh created other beings. They're just not the ones that this plan was for, to use for the bigger plan. That doesn't make them less. That doesn't make them less valuable. Because remember, all of them can choose through this family, through this plan, to all be children of the living Elohim. And so there certainly would be a possibility that he, in other places, started families so there would be people on the planet to populate this earth and to have other things happen. It doesn't say that anywhere. I'm just saying that's your only other choice that I can think of. There's two choices. Either they were interacting with their family members or he created other people. Okay? And so that's just something to keep in mind. By the way, his creating other people makes it a little bit, in my mind, a little bit simpler to understand why we have, even through what little generations we have, people that lived in certain parts of the world who all look like each other. This is prior to the world being so traveled, okay? People pretty much all look the same in different parts of the world. The shape of their eyes, the shape of their faces, the color of their skin, their height. I mean, they're just all these similarities of features that would have been genetic through their lineage, right? Okay? And so, that being said, I find it, to a certain degree, plausible that makes more sense of where all of that came from, that somehow out of just the ones that Noah and his sons came, that all of a sudden, because then people want to, in a racist way, go, well, this son was black, and this son was this, and this son was that, and I don't like that at all. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it feeds into the racism, all right? And so, what I'd rather understand is that he has it the way it is, and I don't need to worry about it. Okay? Because he hasn't chosen to reveal it from that point of view. So, because if I tell you that they married siblings, and you say, well, what about the verses that says you're not supposed to be with your sister and you're this? Well, that's a good question. And if Yahweh doesn't change, then that shouldn't be happening. But then we have no idea where anybody else came from, so then now what? Well, maybe he created other people. Why not? There's no reason he couldn't create more people. But these were the ones that were meant to be the lineage that leads to Messiah. Okay? And by the way, they're an interesting group. They're not perfect. They've got their issues as families go. All right? So he didn't pick them because they were the best of the best. All right? They weren't the cream of the crop and the best of the best, but that's the ones he started with. All right? All right, so anyway, did that help? I mean, I expected a question from somebody maybe, so that is a question that does come up. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, Shaquez.
So I just wanted to know if you could reiterate. You said something really great on one of the Zoom meetings, and what you said tonight reminded me of that, just about the roles and men working, and you were talking about giving the wives an hour, if they could give an hour of dedicated, focused, undistracted time, how that would help in the marriage to stay connected while he's out there doing what he has to do.
What's your question about that? I'm not sure.
Could you explain that again? Because I wasn't sure I actually understood it when you said it the first time.
I think it's somewhat not properly in context. Let me just fix that a little bit. What I really was trying to communicate is that men should give their wives and children and other family members as needed the amount of focused attention that they need. Now, that may be different for each family member, okay? Okay, right now, I have my 2 children, and I have one that apparently needs more attention than the other, desires it more, let's put it that way. Not needs it like, but just desires the attention more than the other, okay? My wife may not need the same amount of attention that somebody else's wife may need. Okay, but I should figure out what she needs and make sure she's getting it. Same thing with my children. So I check with them on a regular basis, say, hey, listen, we need to go spend some time. And then time is made, and then it's either going to be a shorter time or a longer time, depending on what they need. But it's the awareness that people need certain levels of attention in relationship. Same thing with you and Yahweh, right? He's like, do you want to have a relationship with me? How about spending a little bit of time with me? Tell you what, I'm going to create a whole day every week just for that. Because knowing you human being you, if given the choice, you're not going to do it. You'd give me a few minutes here or there, just like you do the rest of the week. So why would the 7th day be any different if I didn't give you a day? You treat all the days the same. You'd give me a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and that's it. But I need, actually, I don't want to say it that way. Yahweh doesn't need. He knows you need that time with him. So he's forcing you. He's like, I'm going to take away all other things that you can do, so you have no choice but to be either bored out of your mind or spend time with me. That's really what he does. Makes it an easy choice. Okay, Mercy.
So I have a question and a comment, and I'll start with the comment first. When it says they were naked and unashamed, one of the things that I used to always think about was in terms of them being open and honest and unashamed of their emotions and the mental things that, you know, they thought of, and just being really open and unashamed of things, baggage. Like they didn't have any baggage, and even if they did, I doubt they did, because they weren't alive that long. But even if they did, it was like, I'm not ashamed to share this with you because, you know, where we are, the environment that that the Father has created, we can do that and there won't be any judgments or anything like that. So I've always thought of that way, which has always then prompted me to say, well, that's the kind of relationship I want, to be open and honest and unashamed, and him to be open and honest and unashamed. And we just had that place of safety to be able to allow ourselves to just kind of be, but you know what I mean.
Well, but at the same time, if you're doing something that's inappropriate to the relationship, you can be open and honest all you want. That's going to be kind of messed up.
Well, not in that way. Not in that way.
But I'm just saying is, so the difference really is that in Adam and Chava's situation is that they, for the first time, became aware that they did something they shouldn't have. Okay? Because of eating of the fruit, they now had a relationship. If you've heard me do other teachings about this, they now have a relationship with good and evil. Not just like they're aware of it. Like people might say, well, why wouldn't you want to know good and evil so you know the difference? It's not about the information. Eating of the tree gave you a relationship with both. So now you have a relationship with good, knowing, right? Knowing is relational. So they would know good, but they would also know evil. And now they were ashamed because now they knew they had done something that was evil. They now had a relationship with evil. Changed everything. And the more you have a relationship with evil, the more that makes it hard to have your relationship with good. And so when Yahweh walked in the garden, they're now hiding. Okay? All right, did that help?
Yeah, that was good.
Good.
And my question is, so you said, obviously, that the woman is the helpmeet. You said it a certain way that it was like she was perfectly created for, or suited for him. So does that mean, well, I don't want to, just assume, but in that meaning, one of the things that you said before is that whatever he does, like when he sees her, he's supposed to be able to say, whatever you are, like the things that you do will fit perfectly with me, which means that we can, go off and skip whatever. So does that mean that she has to have, like, because he's supposed to allow her to flourish, right? So does that mean that he has to be doing things that she already has an affinity or a talent for? Like, how is she supposed to help? Yes, I understand. Ask him, what is it that you need? But, like, how does she flourish? Do you understand anything that I'm saying? Okay, because I am trying to understand.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Okay.
Because it doesn't sound like I'm making sense, but because it's still
Nobody understands the words that are coming out of your mouth. Okay, that was the other line of the movie. Okay. Look, I speak mercy. It's okay. I understand where you're coming from. Let's keep this simple. All right? The man is not supposed to need very much. What he does need is someone to love him, to encourage him, to believe in him. That's the main thing, okay? Okay, to make this kind of I think this is an old enough thing to say, but most people should be familiar. Men, in terms of what they need, are like a puppy dog. Okay? just pet them, say good boy, and they'll wag their tail, and they'll be happy as can be. And okay, but that's the thing, though. You do more for a dog than you would do for your husband. They come over, and they want to see you, and you hug them, and you would go, you're so good, good boy. None of you would do that for your husbands. You look at them like, did you take out the garbage? Did you pay that bill? When are you ever going to get off that couch and fix that light bulb? Okay, that's, okay? So nobody's wagging any tails at that point. And you know what doesn't make the tail wag? Is a wagging finger. Ladies, you start wagging that finger, you don't have a happy husband. All right, so, but men, you should not need help with anything. What you need is someone to have that side of loving, support, encouragement, belief. Your number one cheerleader. Hey, you can do this, and I'm here to help you do it. I'm by your side. I believe in you. And ladies, your job is to keep the drama out of his system. Keep the drama off his plate. And instead of protecting and shielding drama, you bring it. And you tell him about all the other drama everybody else is doing. Do you know what your kids are doing? Blah, 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 blah. Can you believe this person posted this on Facebook and blah, blah, blah? And can you believe? Oh, my gosh. If the man is a man, and some of the men are not, and they're causing as much drama and living on drama and just feeding on drama as anybody else, but they're not going to want that. I want to do my job, and I will not be happy if you're bringing drama into what I'm trying to do. Only bring drama that you need me to fix. So then it's not drama, it's an issue. Okay? If you're bringing something that I can't fix, you don't even want me to fix it, you just want to share it with me so I can have the same drama you're dealing with, don't. Okay? Then you're like, but I need to talk about my drama. That's what the other girlfriends are for. Share the drama with each other all you want. Don't bring that to your husbands. Unless you need them, and it's appropriate for them to, fix it. Okay? You're supposed to create a space so that after this man hopefully has been working all day, so that he can provide for you, then coming home and ready to keep you safe and protect you, that you're not distracting him with a bunch of nonsense. Just emotional trauma, drama, dumb stuff. So let's not do that. Okay, did that help, Mercy? Okay? Now, in the meantime, other than that, he should be creating a space that you can flourish into whatever you want to be, because he doesn't need you to be anything in particular except a supportive, cheerleading, loving him, and just, believing in him, encouraging him. Man, you want to get some stuff out of your husband? Tell him you're proud of him. Tell him if he does something as just benign as he remembered to take out the garbage, say, honey, I really appreciate you did that. And don't do it in any joking, sarcasm. Be genuine. Okay? Then he might want to do more to hear that. Men thrive on that, just like the puppy dog. When you say attaboy and you pet them, we thrive on just telling us, hey, you liked what we did. I appreciate that. Okay? All right. Taylor.
Okay, so you mentioned while you were speaking about the verses, I remember you said, I will decide when you die for Cain. And that was also connected to when he was worried about if, what if somebody comes to kill me? Okay, so I was seeing, and if this makes sense, I was seeing in my head of thoughts, like I was trying to connect it with his choices now in his life. So in my head, I was thinking from that point on, pretty much what my question is, did Cain lose, in every point of his life, his choices? Like from that decision, were all his choices gone from that point? Because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, since Abba said I'm going to decide when you die, so does that mean at every point of his life, Abba's directing him to that destination of death in whatever he's doing?
No, basically what it's saying is, whatever you choose to do, You're going to be doing it like leper unclean. Okay. People are going to look at you like there's something wrong with you. You're going to be a loner. You're going to be just suffering out there. You chose to isolate yourself, not to love your brother, to kill your brother, to lie about it, all these other things. You are basically leper unclean. People are going to see you and just know you need to be avoided. And I'm not going to let you die until you suffer that, as you need to suffer that, and Abba decided that that's what he had to do. And that people would see and they would know this is what you get. Okay? Same thing like with other times in history, you see Israel, that the world would see them as they got taken into captivity, as they got scattered around, when Babylon came in, when Assyria came in. This is all for them, and it's also for the world to see. The same thing happened with Cain. All right. Michael?
So I was started writing in the Torah, which is actually a really interesting thing because when you write the Torah, it forces you to slow down, focus on every single word, and then you really start seeing things that you haven't seen before. And so one of the things that I saw was actually right here in this Parsha, and I wanted to share it, was in Genesis 1, 6, and 7. This has always been kind of difficult for me to understand. It's kind of like he's saying, hey, let's do this, and then he does it. Like, why would you give yourself an order? Why would you command yourself to do something? But then because of the instruction that we have that, like the Father's greater than Shua, nobody's ever seen him, that the Messiah, the lawgiver, and the Creator are Echad, everything is, they're like two working together. It almost reads to me like it's the Father telling Yeshua or telling the Son to do something, and then he goes and does it, except for creating man. They kind of do that together, it looks like. What are your thoughts on that? From a vertical structure kind of standpoint, does that make sense?
Well, look, the voice of the Father has always been the Son, okay? And so in the beginning, when it says Elohim, and by the way, I didn't mention this, but we don't have Yahweh mentioned at all in the first chapter. It doesn't get mentioned until basically chapter 2, verse 4, and then we're introduced to Yahweh Elohim. It's a specific member of the Elohim. But I think it's logical to understand that when he spoke, let there be light, Yeshua is that voice. Okay? It's the Father's thought and intention and desire, but then there's the voice. And I think that in verse 6 and 7, you very easily could have had it translated a little bit differently, where just like it said, let there be light, and light came to be, you could have said, Elohim said, let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and the expanse came to be. But instead it said that he made that, which means that the people wanted to understand that he made these things happen the way they did. It didn't just come to be, so to speak, is that he brought it in. He sent it forth, he separated. Okay? But when he said it, that would have been enough. And then the second part of the verse, or the next part, is explaining what that looked like. Okay? All right, Eduardo.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
So in chapter 2, verse 9, we have the two trees. Tree of life. Yeshua says he's the truth, the way, and the life. And Yeshua is the living, breathing Torah. So could it be referred to as the tree of Torah? In life, we have two choices, the tree of Torah and the tree of knowing good and evil.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. Make it more simple. The tree of his way, the tree of your way. Okay? Because Torah is his way. All right. Live stream, if there's anybody still awake.
Oh, they're all awake over there in Asia and Australia.
Well, the Filipinos like, it's only 11 in the morning here, no problem.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, Rabbi, that the live stream accidentally got turned on for just a minute when you asked about that, and you got a pretty good resounding yes. They're all for that over there, especially over there. That they can all join in on this.
Oh, yeah. If we do it later Friday night, it makes it easier for everybody over there. That's true.
They love it. They're all on here. They're loving it. Yeah, we had somewhere about 370 on here tonight.
Wow, that's even a big number, too. That's almost double what we normally get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so ENFP says in Genesis 5:24, Enoch walked with Elohim. Only he was mentioned doing so. And says Hebrews 11:5 states that he was translated so as not to see death. Can you expound, or please expound?
No, I said everything I was going to say about that because there's not enough information on what to tell you about that.
Okay.
Okay, you've got basically 2 places it's mentioned, and that's all the detail we have. Okay?
All right. Anna Yudin, Rabbi, which Torah commandment is the first mentioned commandment?
Which what? Torah commandment's first commandment mentioned? Yeah, that's debatable by a lot of people. I think they be fruitful and multiply tends to, in my mind, be the first commandment that man was supposed to focus on. Okay? Of course, we have that he put him there to guard and to tend, etc. All right?
It says Darren Kroll.
Well, hold on. Actually, let's look at the 10 Commandments. So what's the first commandment? I am Yahweh. So we have that still in chapter 2, right from the beginning, interacting with man. Okay, so I am Yahweh still, first commandment, all the way to the beginning. All right, next.
Darren Kroll, why is the expanse not seen as good on the day it was created? Did Elohim create Mondaytis for us with one, quote unquote, not good day per week? And Mike Robillard, I think he has a similar question. He says the second day is not good. Any idea why that is?
Okay. I'm not going to go back and look for all the it is goods, etc. When he separated the expanse, that part of it wasn't finished. Okay? When he said, let there be light, that part was finished. So it was good. Okay? When he finished everything, he said it was very good. When he separated the expanse, he had just begun what he was going to do with those things he separated. So he didn't say it was good yet because it wasn't finished. Does that make sense? Okay, next. Because remember, good is the definition of something that is now functioning as designed. When he separated the 2 expanses, they weren't functioning as anything yet. They were just separated. All right, next.
Dale Hersey says, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Can you clarify with what we read? Does an animal have a soul or just a spirit, or just is that the distinction between the man who was created first, then the animals second?
Okay. I thought I actually settled this, but apparently it doesn't translate into Australian. Okay, so, all right, this is not easy for people to come out of a Christian background with this whole idea of the spirit and the soul and everything else. The Hebrew word that is normally translated soul in most Christian Bibles, okay, when they translate, is nephesh. And nephesh simply means the creature is alive. Okay? It's a living creature. It's not dead. Okay? That's all. This idea that people have of a soul and that your soul goes back to heaven or your soul goes to Yahweh, or your soul does this, that's just not true. It's talking more about when it says in verse 7 of chapter 2, and Yahweh formed the man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being in a different way than all the rest of them. He breathed in something of him into us. So we don't just have life in us, it's life connected to him in us. Okay? The rest of them were all created with built-in, programming. They know what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, where to go. They don't need any instruction. They don't need to know where they need to go to lay their eggs if they're like doing that kind of thing. Like the salmon know to swim back where they need to go. I mean, they're all trained. The birds go. How do birds know to fly south? It's programmed in. The fish know what to do. Man is the only thing that has no programming in him. He's got to be trained and taught and instructed. Okay? We come out of the womb, and if we would just lay there and die. We don't have. You have other creatures give birth, and they're the things they give birth to right away get up and start swimming or walking and doing whatever they normally need to do. They know right away what to do. Okay? We don't know anything. but we were born with something they don't have, which is a connection, that earnest of the spirit, so to speak. Okay, we refer to that as the neshama. Okay? Okay, next.
Kenneth Pierce in chapter 1, verse 21, it says, Elohim created man and woman and told them to multiply, but in chapter 2, he creates Adam, the first man. So are these two separate issues of creation? It's really confusing.
Okay, no. What you're getting confused with is that Yahweh has this habit of, not always, but often enough in Scripture, saying a bunch of stuff that's going to happen or that's happening, whatever it is, and then stepping back and recovering it with more detail or additional detail. So what we're seeing now is the very big picture of things in chapter 1 and a lot more detail about things that happened on day 6 than we got really in chapter 1. Okay? And so we find out that this is how men and women were brought into being. Okay? So we're getting the detail in a different way. All right? And that happens in a lot of places in Scripture. Yahweh will lay out something, especially prophetically. He'll say, these are things that are going to happen. Then he'll go back and you're like, wait a minute, didn't we just cover this? Is this talking about something else? No, it's not about the same thing, but it's going through a whole different layer of something. Okay? And we see this quite a bit. All right, continue.
Tracy Thomas, Genesis 4:24 says Cain is avenged sevenfold and Lamech is avenged 77-fold. How does that fit into Rabbi's comments about Genesis 4:15?
Okay, it's simple. Who's speaking? Yahweh said Cain would be avenged 7 times. He never said anything about Lamech. Lamech decided, oh, I'm even greater than Cain, so I'm going to be avenged. That's Lamech's decision. That wasn't Yahweh's decision. So that basically carried no weight. I almost put that in my notes. I was going to actually cover that. But, okay, so just look who's talking. Lamech is an out-of-control egomaniac, full of himself, and he goes, you think Cain was great? I'm greater than that. Anybody kills me, they'll be avenged 77 times. Yahweh didn't say that. Lamech did. Okay? All right, next.
Okay, from Yada Yah or Cindy, says Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi, and Bereshit, Elohim's covenant name is being used. Wasn't his covenant first given to Moshe?
Elohim's covenant name is being used. Wasn't his covenant? I don't know what you're trying to say because he uses Yahweh here. I don't even understand the question. Okay, but the answer would be no. Okay, Elohim is using Elohim in the beginning, I believe, because it's both Father and Son doing the work. Then we're introduced to the Son, who does all this interaction with the creation and the human beings. And that's why we're told Yahweh Elohim. The Father's name is Yahweh too. We have both with the same name. But the one interacting with man has always been the Son. And so we're introduced to that name starting in chapter 2. Okay? Yahweh's name does not appear anywhere in chapter 1. All right, next.
Lisa Hersey. So was Cain the beginning of foragers? The ground was more cursed for him, wasn't it? Or was he just told to be off elsewhere?
I don't know. I didn't even think about that. Because you know what I think nothing really about is people who do things like Cain did. So I don't care. Okay? I'd have to read it again and see what the actual cursing was. I don't care. All right? Cain is something that we do not want to become like. We don't need to understand how to emulate it anyway. I know that Abba had him in his hands the way he intended, and that's all I care about. Okay? All right.
Okay. How far do you want to go, Rabbi? I've got a whole bunch of questions. So.
You're asking the wrong person. I'm just getting started. I don't care. You guys good for a little more?
Let's do it.
Well, keep going.
All right.
I mean, you guys claimed you want to do 24-hour marathon someday. Well, we can go a little longer.
All right. Ellery Bordeaux, can you clarify Genesis 4:26? Does this mean that Adam, Eve, and Ken stopped having any relationship with Yahweh after the fall, or is it something else?
I don't know if you're quoting the right verse. I guess it's 25, maybe, is what you're thinking. Okay, so it says in verse 26, it says, and to Seth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then it was begun to call on the name of Yahweh. That is not what you're talking about. But verse 25, and Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son called Seth, and for Elohim has appointed me another seed instead of Abel or Cain, since Cain had, instead of Abel, since Cain had slain him. Doesn't mean that Adam, Eve, and Ken stopped having any relationship with Yahweh after the fall or something else. Oh, because they began to call on the name. Okay, so this is where they started calling on his reputation and his authority. They should have from the beginning. It took a little bit for them to wake up. I think that's what it's saying. It says, you know what? Adam and them finally woke up. Okay? Would that help make some sense there? All right. Calling on the name is an activity. It's not like they didn't know his name before or anything. It's like they decided, oh, you know what? Maybe we need to stop wallowing in our pity and know we messed up and we're out here in the, outside the garden now and everything else. And our first son got killed by our second son and then he got thrown out into the wilderness and now what? Okay, then they got Seth and they're like, you know what? I think we need to just focus correctly now. Okay? Next.
Okay, from Cindy again, it says, Bereshith 2:21 and 22, was the female created in man at the time of creation? Referred to Bereshith 1:27, man and female, them was created.
Okay, whatever Adam looked like originally, I don't mean physically, whatever that was all about was complete. Okay? And then the part that is the female was taken out of him and made into a separate creature. So that there would be two. There would be male and female, as there is with most animals. There's male and female. Okay? But in man's case, to be a perfect helper match, she was taken from him so that he would be missing and desiring that, and she would be missing and desiring it, so they would become whole again. Okay? So hopefully that answered that question.
Okay, from First Love, says, how was Cain to be killed and how did he marry? There's no clue as to where.
We covered that.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Carrero, is there teaching that covers the creation story of life application outside of Bereshith or Bereshith?
Only what I've done in the Torah portions over the years at the moment. Although I did cover a little bit of it, I think, in Yeshua the Light. Went through Bereishit a little bit in the first chapter. But I don't have a teaching that covers the story as life application. Although I covered that quite a bit tonight. Okay, so there you have it. There's your teaching. I did that teaching on October 21st of 2022. All right, next.
Christian Dennis, Rabbi, what did Yahweh rest from doing? From what I see, he rested from creating. Is this a correct thought?
Yes, I did say that at the beginning. With Christian, you might have come in late. We specifically covered that he rested from the creating process.
Christian Dennis, chapter 2, verse 23. Is this verse in reference / similar to the coming out of Israel from Mitzrayim as a bridegroom / woman? Are we to be a helper to Yahweh or to be a light?
Read that again, because it didn't come up on the screen, so I'll just read it again.
So chapter 2, verse 23. Is this verse in reference / similar to the coming out of Israel from Mitzrayim as a bridegroom / woman? Are we to be a helper to Yahweh, be a light?
Okay, see, sometimes I have a problem with the way the questions are worded, because your question is a decent question, It has almost nothing to do with the verse you quoted. But I don't, so that's why it confuses me. You're trying to understand if the role is similar of the woman to the man, as like when Israel came out of Egypt to then be representing Yahweh. Yet the verse you quoted says, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman because it was taken out of man. I don't see how that has anything to do with what they did coming out of Mitzrayim. So I don't get the question, because to me the verse isn't connected to your point. I think your point's an interesting point. Yes, they had a purpose to come out, and that purpose eventually is to be the bride. And so there is a role happening here, but not necessarily coming out of that verse. Okay?
Okay, Lisa Hersey. What is the possibility of a progressive Torah, i.e., given Temple Torah, there was not until Levitical Torah? Could this be possible? Could answer early marriage issues between kin too?
That doesn't help. Okay? Because first of all, Cain and Abel knew how to make offerings. Right from the beginning. And Temple Torah, basically, a lot of that has to do with how to make offerings. They knew what to make and how to make it. Abram knew how to build an altar. Noah knew how to make offerings when they came right off the ark. Okay? So, no. But even if that were the case, progressive Torah meaning things that, like the temple that didn't exist yet, so then we had Torah for that, that doesn't change existing anything, it added. If that's what you're saying. In other words, there wasn't a temple, so there wasn't instruction for that yet. Now there's a temple, and we have instruction for that. So now let's bring in clarity to something that's new. Well, no, men and women exist now. They existed then, and the rules about that would not change, so it doesn't fix that. So it's not like something new has come about. So I don't think that really helps. Okay, next.
Mark S., Genesis 2, verse 17. Will Adam and Eve and other succeeding generations after be resurrected when Messiah comes back?
Okay, so go listen to the Millennium and Kingdom teaching. That's the easy answer for me to give you, okay? All right, so all those that have died in Messiah, which means they died in truth, Torah, light, life, etc., will be resurrected in the first resurrection when Yeshua comes back. Who those are is above my pay grade. All right? So let's leave it at that. Okay? And by the way, one thing, I know Lisa asked that question about progressive Torah. I was just having a thought that the only answer that works for scenario number one is where they're marrying their own siblings and stuff, would be to go into a dangerous place of dispensation. To say, well, that was for them then because of their situation, so this is different now. That is incredibly dangerous. So that's not where I'm going to go. Okay? All right, next.
Mark S., Genesis 1:3. Can we say that the light created here is the Messiah, and the darkness was Nahash?
Wait. Say the second part of that. The light was Messiah, and
the darkness was Nahash.
Was the Nahash? No. Okay. I think the Nahash was trying to bring them into embracing darkness, but I wouldn't say the Nahash was darkness. That's still a Christian mindset, like the devil is, the cause of all problems. Okay. The only reason Nahash was able to do what it did was because there was something already in her and in him that allowed that to play out. If that wasn't there, then Nahash could have just said, hey, what do you think over here? And they said, no, go away. That could have happened. It didn't. Okay? I could see others throughout history, if that had been them, they would have been like, no. Look, Yeshua had those temptations, right? And he said, no. Basically, the Nahash said, well, do this and do this and this. And he's like, but I don't want any of that stuff. All right? He didn't have the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. All right? Can we say that the light created here is Messiah? I said that. That part I said. Maybe about an hour and a half ago. Okay, so you can go back. The part about the Nachash, I disagree. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Mark S. again. It says Genesis 3:7. Can we say that the fruit they ate was a fig because they used fig leaves to cover?
Look, and the reason, okay, some of you look at me like, well, that doesn't sound like that hard a question. Why are you thinking so much? Because I want to be polite. I don't want to be insulting to you, Mark, who wrote this question, but why are you wasting any thoughts on this? I don't know why people do this, and not just you, Mark, other people too. What difference does it make what kind of fruit it was? It wasn't a fig like we eat today, because you eat a fig, it's not going to give you the knowledge of good and evil. I don't know how to address these things and not be insulting. I don't want to be insulting. I just wish, I don't know where this stuff comes from. Listen, one day maybe you'll be up here, any of you, and you'll understand how amazing it is, some of the things people want to ask. Can we ask questions that are actually relevant, as Elder said at the beginning, to your life and your walk? I mean, who cares what kind of fruit it was? Does it really matter? It wasn't an apple, I can tell you that. Okay? All right, next. I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to pick on you. I would have picked on anybody else. I mean, there's been so many questions like that. I sometimes want to scratch my head going, where are these questions coming from? Come on. Can we focus on questions that actually matter? Next question.
Tracy Thomas, Genesis 4:6 says, Yah said to Cain, why is he wroth towards you? Who is the quote-unquote he that Yah is referring to here?
What verse are we looking at here? 4:6?
Says Genesis 4:6.
No, it's simple. Yahweh said to Cain, why are you wroth? Why are you mad? And why is your face fallen? Previous verse said that Cain was very wroth and his face fell. Okay? And that's because Yahweh looked at Heber's offering and he didn't look at Cain's. Is it different in 2009? Is that the problem? Why is he wroth towards you? Oh. Okay, so the wording may be problematic, Tracy, in the 2009. I'm reading out of the 98, so. Okay, I'll have to look it up in the Hebrew and see what the deal is there. It doesn't make sense to do that. It was simply, Cain was upset, and Yahweh said, why are you upset? If you do it right, want to be well with you, why are you upset? Okay? All right. So I couldn't answer that question because it's in a different translation. Mine doesn't read that way. All right, next.
Christian Dennis, chapter 2, verse 15. Is this verse a reference to Torah as it brings life, and all life comes from the garden, and we are to work/do and guard/obey?
I don't, look, there's a connection I guess you could make. I don't think it has anything to do with that. All right? It's simply saying what I give you to do, I expect you to do it, I expect you to take care of it, to protect it and work it, and that's it. Now, when he gives them Torah, he expects them to guard it, work it, and do that too. But I think it's more simple in Pashat, like I said. Okay, next. I mean, your analogy works. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't necessarily believe that that's straightforward what it's talking about there.
All right. In the way, J, is it possible the creation of mankind in Genesis 1:26 through 27 was different prior to Adam in Genesis 2? Could Adam have been the first anointed, appointed, or priesthood meant to teach the Genesis 1 people?
Okay, so you're trying to, go to that whole idea that other people were created different than prior to Adam. No, I have Adam as the first. I think Scripture makes it pretty clear, and so I don't have other people being before him. But what you're understanding is that in verse 26 or 27, it says, and Elohim created man in his image, in the image of Elohim he created him, male and female he created them. And then we have in chapter 2 where it gets into more detail. So no, I don't think that that's what's going on here. I do think Adam is the first anointed, appointed, etc., priest. That's what his intention was, but I also think he was the first, period. Okay, next.
Oliver Hersey says, Rabbi, we are commanded to be fruitful and multiply, but how does being able to provide for the multiplication come into it? Or is it just by faith? He said it, so we do it.
I'm trying to figure out where that question really is coming from. Okay, so I think what you're saying is, if we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply, are we just supposed to take it on faith that we'll be able to make enough to take care of the multiplying? Look, everybody's just going to be mad at me. Okay? I'm sorry, but generally speaking, and I mean generally, like most everybody that exists, if you've been raised right, I mean raised right meaning with the understanding that you can accomplish and do anything because you live in a world where everything and anything is possible and accessible to everybody without excuse, you should have no problem making enough to pay for and take care of as many children as you ever desire to have. Problem is, you've lived in a world telling you can't all the time, and that you shouldn't, and that you're not good enough, and that you can't do it, and you'll never make it, and everything else, which is all a bunch of garbage. Because I can promise you know what? Go look on TikTok or some other thing like that, and you can find where all these people are out there talking about all the money they're making, and these are people that you would have walked across the other side of the street from if you were walking down the street thinking they're like these are just kids making fortunes. When I say kids, they're in their 20s, and they're barely in their 20s, and in their 30s, because they figured out a way to work hard and work smart and make money. Even teenagers. Your problem is you're still trying to get a job that pays you enough. Jobs don't. Do you see people with jobs in this book? Where do you see people with jobs? Okay, I see people who are slaves, and that's kind of like a job. But I see people who are working for themselves. They were fishing, they were farming, they were carpenters. Jobs is a much more modern thing. And then we've brainwashed society to think you have to go get a job. You got to grow up and get a job. No, I tell people all the time they need to make money, need to work. Now, if you don't know what else to do, get a job, because that's easy to get. I don't care what your whiny excuse is. Jobs are easy to get. Oh, but Rabbi, I've been trying for... Listen, that's because you're not allowing yourself a wide enough spectrum of what you're willing to do. You can get a job right now. Okay? Period. I mean, I could walk out the door on Monday and get a job. I get 50 jobs. Oh, but what about your... Forget about my qualifications. I get ones that don't need qualifications. There's jobs. But you want to make a living. So you got to figure out how to aim higher and to be diligent in figuring out how to accumulate the skill sets and information and the knowledge to get that kind. Look, do you understand that when we pay people, it's in exchange for value? The value that you bring, the value that you add. All right? Okay? I expect a certain value when I go to McDonald's. I expect a much different value when I go to a steakhouse and get a burger there versus the burger I get at McDonald's. And you know what? It costs me a lot more. But I expect a different value, a different quality. You got to increase the value that you bring. You get paid more. If you do, what you get paid by the replaceability factor. Okay? You know why people get minimum wage? Because what they do is easily replaceable. Anybody can do it. You know why some people can make $100 an hour? Because there's only a few people that can do it. It's not because it's not that, that anybody can't learn how to do it. Just very few people know how to do it. And so I don't understand. I just don't. I've worked since I was before I was a teenager. I delivered newspapers. Some of you remember that. Okay? The fun part for kids, you're thinking, it's going to be fun to kind of throw them. Yeah, throw a few into the bushes and you're not going to want to do that all the time. Okay? But I always worked. And I always knew if I was satisfied with the amount of money I was making, and which was, if it was a job, I was never happy, which means I was always looking to do something else. What could I do else? What could I use that money to fund something I could do myself? So when you ask things about this fruitful and multiply, and how does that being able to provide for the multiplication come into it? You should have so much abundance you could handle any number of children. And you're thinking, I can't handle me and my wife and any of the kids. Because nobody told you to aim higher. Okay? Look, I've told this younger generation, hopefully the older generation heard it too, I gave you a simple, workable target. You should be aiming to earn your age per hour, minimum. That would give you a shot at financial freedom. Like you'll have enough money to do anything you want to do. If you're 20 years old, $20 an hour ought to work pretty good for a single 20-year-old. It's not going to work when you get married and have 2 kids. At that point, you should be making 30 or 35 because that's when you have the wife and the kids and this all. You should be at least minimum making that. I didn't say you should go to your boss and say you should pay me my age. You should find a job. So if your job pays you, let's say you start off and you think you hit the jackpot. You got a $25 an hour job and you're only 20 years old. You're thinking, this is great. But did you look to see what it's going to pay you in 10 years? The same $25. Well, now you're going to be 30 or 35 and you're still making $25. With inflation and everything else, less. You didn't know, nobody taught you to aim at a higher target. How were these kids figuring this out? They're not going to college, barely going to high school, and they're figuring out how to do the hard work of dropship marketing or online marketing or YouTubing or blogging or whatever they're doing. Okay? Some of you are still bought into the lie that, we just need to go to college. My mother still wants to know, because my daughter's about to graduate, is she going to go to college? And I always say the same thing, if it's necessary. In other words, there are certain things you can't do without a degree. Not many. So she wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, an accountant, right, a CPA. Yeah, maybe she has to go. But it's a great waste of money otherwise. Because it's a lie. It's not going to get you a great job. I think they did a study back 20 years ago that 85% of the people out there were working in careers that had nothing to do with their degree. Or I don't know what the number was, 75, 80. It was some ridiculously high number. Okay? But see, that's the lie they want to sell you. You're pushed into the system and you end up in debt up to your eyeballs. And now what? So then you wait for a guy like the president to come in and then wipe it all out. Which means the rest of us now are going to have to pay for that. Okay? I like Ali's question. The question is, you have to aim higher. And if you don't know how to do that, work 3 jobs, 4 jobs. Do what you need to do to make enough money to then start your own side hustle. And then when it blows up, start another one. And when it blows up, you're going to fail a bunch of times. I kept getting jobs every time what I started didn't work. I got more money, started a new one, got more money, started a new one, got more money. Because every successful guy out there will tell you that the only reason they're so successful is that they're willing to fail more than you're willing to fail. And they've had more things go sideways. You only know about the success that they're famous for, not all the other businesses they started that blew up or never got off the ground. I'm sorry if I'm coming across so strong. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can start this now. At any age, you can start. I'm too old. I don't know this. Then go find out. Get the education. All the education is free and available or at very minimal cost available online from courses you can take without having to go to school. Okay? You can get certificates. You can get trainings. You can get mentoring. You can get there's so much. But you don't want to spend the money. You want to invest in yourself. You know how many thousands of dollars I invested in myself? Not going to college. Courses I bought, books I bought, programs I've taken, seminars I've gone to. You got to invest in yourself. Absolutely. All right, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick on Ollie. Ollie, I want to encourage you. You're young. You're just getting started. Work as hard as you can, put aside the money, and then go and get another job and go and eventually figure out how you're going to elevate. You need to figure out how to make, by the time you're 50, at least 50 an hour. But you got to figure that out now, not when you're 50. You need to be on a path that's leading that way. Now look, you may live on a lifestyle where you don't need that much. Fine, figure out what your lifestyle needs, and then make sure you'll have it by the time you're that age. Maybe you don't need that lifestyle. 50 means 100,000 a year. Maybe you think I'll never need that. But if you had that, you'd be able to do everything without stress. By the way, when they say money doesn't buy you happiness, only poor people wrote that. Okay? That came out of some poor person's mouth. All right? Because wouldn't you be happier with less stress for your finances? So then it does buy happiness. Because a lot of your misery is because you're broke. People say, oh, but I heard the saying, money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, some poor person said that. Rich people don't say that. Rich people spend a lot of time figuring out how to benefit others with their wealth because they've got more than they need. Okay? Some of you want to help people more. You can't if you're broke. There's a guy named Rich DeVos. He was the president of Amway years ago. And he wrote a really good book called Compassionate Capitalism. And the whole point was that those who can create wealth are the ones that actually get to help people. So why wouldn't you want to create some wealth? Poor people can't help anybody. All right? Anyway, that was a long-winded answer, but I thought it needed to be said. Look, I know some of you are like, man, Rabbi, just ease up. No. As a matter of fact, if I showed you the guys I listen to, I'm like a gentle, small breath in the wind. I mean, these guys are like, okay? I mean, the guys I listen to will be just like, are you kidding me? Get up, get off and go. And that's how they get it done, though. Okay, that's how they get it done. One guy was listening, he said his friends would be like, hey, you want to go snowboarding? He used to be a snowboarder, right? He says, snowboarding? He said, well, don't you want to have some fun? Fun? I'm trying to make a living right now. I'm trying to put money away, get my finances right, make a bunch of money. I don't understand how you have time to go have fun. I don't have time for fun. I agree with them. And by the way, working hard and being successful is more fun than any video game, any snowboarding, anything. If you're a guy, there's nothing more fun than seeing that number in the bank account that week because you worked your you-know-what off and you're getting paid for it. Okay? That's fun. You know what's fun? Going out and not having to wonder if I can afford to buy the meal I'm about to have. Okay? Not having to make decisions because I have to look at the price first. That's fun. Okay? Fun is when my wife says, you want to go out tonight? Sure. I've been, by the way, where I had to ask, I don't think we can afford it. Let me check. Depends on where we go. Let me look at how much is left in our checking account. I've been there. I've been broke. I've been all that. It wasn't fun. Okay? It wasn't fun. But not having to do it, I'll tell you, it's a lot more fun. But I work hard for that. That's why elders like trying to get me to work. I don't work less. I'll work until I drop. And you know what's funny? There's no direct correlation necessarily to my working and what I get paid. I get paid a flat salary. Okay? And my hourly has gone down quite a bit because I work a lot of hours. My pay is the same. So when I work more hours, I don't get paid any more than if I work less hours. I don't need to do all the things that I do. Certainly all the counseling is not part of what I need to be doing. But I do it because I know he blesses me because of it. You work hard, he's going to bless you. Okay? And you were put here to do all that. But you have to believe in yourself. You got to believe you can do it. He put you here to do it. Then if you believe he put you here to do it and he put you here not to fail. I know Elder likes to say that Yahweh could do anything but fail. Yeah, you can fail. But then you can get up and start again. And eventually you can succeed. Okay? As long as you believe he put you here to succeed, and you believe that, and he believes in you, why don't you believe in you? And some of you are thinking, I don't have the slightest idea. Nobody does when they start. So you start listening to different things. You start reading different things. You start hanging out with different people. Same thing with this walk. You can't do this walk and still hang out with the people you used to hang out with. I mean, if you grew up in a crowd, at some point you realized you couldn't hang out with the crowd that partied on Friday nights and was going out and getting drunk all the time and going to clubs and doing all this stuff, that was not going to work. And so you had to stop hanging out with different people in your life at different times in your life because it wasn't getting you where you wanted to go. Because you are going to be kind of the average of who you hang out with. You want to elevate, hang out with people that are higher up, that are more where you want to go, not where you are. And find out how they got there and what do they do. Success is absolutely duplicatable. Some of you are thinking, why is he talking so much business? Because it's all about this. Everything in here is about the success ultimately, which is life eternal. And getting there is duplicatable. If you do what he tells you to do and you follow the example of Yeshua in the scriptures. So it's all duplicatable. And Yeshua simply says, if you do what I did, you'll get what I've got. That's what every successful trainer out there says the same thing. Because it's true. Amen? All right, good. I think that's enough. We'll end it there. All right? Well, not because it's midnight. I just thought that was a good place to kind of throw it in there. Look, it's Shabbat. I want you to rest. I want you to meditate. I want you to zone in and zoom. Just connect in strong with your Creator and talk to Him about how can I come out of Shabbat ready to hit it on the day one of the week. All right? Because I'm going to be working those 6 days. And I want to protect, for the men, I want to protect my wife and my children and provide for them. And wives, I want to encourage and believe in. And how can I encourage my husband? Not to encourage him saying, honey, you need to get a better job. That's not the encouragement he needs. Honey, I believe in you. You can do anything. And I know that you heard what Rabbi said, and I believe whatever you're going to do, I'm here to encourage it and believe in it. Okay? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, my husband has no, believe in him. And men, if you really don't know what to do, you got two very qualified people, and me and Elder Billy you can talk to. Okay? And we do that every day with people. All right? We do a lot of success coaching. Anyway, that being said, let's get someone to close us in prayer. Who opened? I don't remember. Oh, okay. Kip, you go ahead and close us. All right, if you'll all rise, we'll be closed in prayer by Mr. Kip Rudio.
Almighty Yahweh, we thank you so much for another wonderful round from our rabbi, which we know comes from you. And we really appreciate the provoking that we would go forth and really bring into this world that which you would have done. And we love the fact that you let us do it together so that we don't feel alone, because we know sometimes it gets a little lonely out there in the world. But nonetheless, you have blessed us greatly with this ministry, with this home. And with a very good home and a strong base, it is possible to do your will. And we thank you for that, the family. In your son's name, thank you very much. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, I'm going to come over here. Anybody wants to be on camera, come on this side. Come on this side. All right. Let me get everybody over here. Waiting for a few more. All right, good. All right, so we want everybody out there. Let's look at the camera that John's got over here. We want everybody out there to know how much we appreciate them being a part of the congregation at large. We want to wish them all a Shabbat Shalom, okay? And I think we'll wish them a Shabbat Shalom because tomorrow we're going to see them again. Shabbat Shalom, and we'll wish them a Laila Tova good night. On 3. 1, 2, 3.